Some of the content of Patriots Unfiltered may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
The world's original podcast.
Welcome to Patriots Unfiltered.
James Harrison comes out and it's 0 degrees without a shirt, I'm scared. When Brendan Schooler comes out and it's 42 degrees, I'm like, you're an idiot.
Yeah, this morning it was like in the 20s. I was like, oh God.
There are men doing like construction right now all day in this weather, and it's like 15 minutes you're out there, Evan.
Right. I love Alex questioning his manhood. I have a theory. The reason why they don't do it from this show is because they secretly don't want to say that they
pretend.
listen.
They pretend that they don't
Because
listen.
everybody listens, but they don't want to admit it.
They're not PU proud.
I don't listen to that. That's a team thing.
We're kind of like porn.
I'm going to fork this game. I'm going to have the Lions winning but not covering.
Fork who?
Oh, it's like you in a road. You come to a fork in the road.
Oh, okay.
And you say, okay, I'm going to go with the win.
I'm gonna
but
fork it.
I'll sue you.
Fork everybody.
3 games on Saturday, Fred.
Which is crazy because I have things to do on Saturday. I can't be watching TV.
too.
You watch the games in general when you can?
Of course I do.
Huh.
I think he gets his feel for the league.
95, 104, 9.
I got some good news about Eric.
Anyway, oh yeah?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No.
Oh my God.
Come on.
I took a shot. It's Christmas.
This is Patriots Unfiltered.
Presented by Toyota's official website for deals, buyatoyota.com.
All right, welcome to Patriots Unfiltered. It is Tuesday here at Gillette Stadium, and getting ready for Christmas. Getting
My
ready
birthday.
for
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Her birthday week.
My birthday week.
Tamara was like the baby Jesus born on Christmas Day
It's a miracle.
in swaddling clothes.
That's what her mother says.
If you let my mother tell the story, she's like, I was out shopping and my water broke on the subway.
Oh.
Thanks to you.
I thought she was going to say we were looking for a place to stay and no one would let us in. We finally found a barn.
No.
You'll have to stay in the barn. That was
Anyway.
Will's line in that play.
We're also getting ready for the Denver Broncos.
Where is the game that it's?
It's
Big,
where you
big
would
shocker.
expect it to be.
Big shocker,
Of
Mike.
course, it's in Denver.
Yeah. Denver's like to the league, you want us to play? We have to play at home. Yeah.
Christmas?
Yeah.
Christmas
So we'll be heading to Denver on Saturday to get ready for the Sunday game, night game.
Snow,
It's
maybe.
going to be tough.
Snow in the forecast.
gonna be tough.
you guys.
So that's that. Want to shout out to Larry, I think it's Centella. Larry and his wife Zora make what we call Christmas crack.
Yeah.
And
So good.
they sent us a card, and it says, "Know your reindeer farts." And it's got the pictures of all the reindeers. And Stinker, instead of the regular reindeer names, they each have fart names. And so Stinker is Fred, Honker is Paul,
Yeah.
Lingerer is Mike,
Yeah.
Squeaker is Tamara,
Yep.
Ripper is Evan,
Of course.
and Comet is Alex.
She's like a
I
comment.
love it.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Why am I Ripper?
thank you, Larry, for the
Because
for
you
the-
rip everybody.
You just let it rip.
thank you, Larry, for the Christmas crack.
And you feel bad about
Yeah.
it the next day.
That's true.
Appreciate
I
that.
normally do have remorse.
Well, let's get into it.
Yeah.
So,
So
of course, the big news of the day is
Yeah.
we're going to be looking for a pregame host again.
yeah. So
Oh.
Hardy.
I thought you were going to say Nathan.
No,
Rourke.
you know what?
Yeah, I know, me
No,
too.
but no, that really is that's big news. I
Yeah.
mean, Boston is considered, a top 15 at least market, maybe top 10. I don't know. And the morning show on radio, Drive Time, is a big deal. And Hardy is now the co-host as of January 4th.
Yep.
He's going to be the co-host for 98.5, the morning show with Fred Toucher, and that's huge.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. And I'd like to take all the credit for that.
He's finally made it.
Another king made, Fred.
But it's great. It's good for him. He's going to have to be getting up early.
Me and Paul are depressed.
Positive. Yeah, you guys
the
are.
two of us.
Yeah,
are.
it stinks for us.
This one hurts.
Yeah,
It
this-
does.
I broke the news to Deuce last night, and
know.
he was upset about it.
yeah, because he gets along well with us.
He does.
You
I
know,
think he's just a great. I
he
mean, he's
plays
obviously
along.
very talented. I mean, I think that's the biggest thing about Hardy is he just.
We got to make a run, dude. So
Yeah,
we'll make a run.
we
at
got to
him,
find
so.
somebody. So send your
Sleep's
application.
Sleep's overrated. No, to Hardy. We got to make a run to Hardy.
Yeah.
See if we can stay.
So
I'm
do her.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna miss arguing with him the most.
I know.
I'll be sending him a list of suggestions for the morning show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But
Should they talk
Yeah.
in between
yeah.
when they talk about the music?
Well, he's going to have to mention us a lot, don't you think?
He
I
does.
hope so.
He does on the midday.
I heard him
show.
talking about.
He was
well,
talking
not-
about you on the midday show.
Oh, was he? I heard him not directly talking about our little wait by the elevator before the game this weekend. So I heard him talking about that.
I
but
missed that.
Didn't mention us, but
Yeah.
Probably be there for life. Not butchered at all.
So congratulations to Hardy.
Yeah, and he's gonna have to bang out these last 3 with us. So we'll enjoy every minute of it, and yeah, we'll see. See what
Yeah, I
happens.
wonder.
These two are like in a depression over
I think this will help his.
Yeah, I really, really like Hardy. I liked all of our pregame shows hosts.
Oh, he gave you clubs.
But I really, really like Hardy.
Yeah.
And we did. Mike and I, it was, and then it was just like, it was different. It was very comfortable.
So we have
Gonna
to
miss him.
We
You
have
better.
to start thinking about next year and who should replace him.
Yeah, send your applications in to Paul, and
Do not,
you better know Jaws.
Do not do that.
There's going to be some Jaws trivia. Will be part of the interview.
I'm
I
out.
assume. I haven't right.
And what are we gonna do without his like key to the game?
Oh, I know he
What are we
brought
gonna
brought
do?
so much. It's well, we'll have 3 shows to kind of unpack. Or I guess 6 shows technically, the pre and the post. So we can draw out our sadness. But maybe we should plan something there for the last Jets game. Send them off. Send them off right.
Yeah. All right. So that's that. Getting back to the Patriots in football.
Some more quarterback news, Freddie.
Yeah. So
Now
Will
lost,
Greer gone.
now
already.
lost 2 quarterbacks
Gone.
who
Yeah.
spent the entire year on the roster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or in the program.
yeah. So Nathan Rourke and
I forgot that he was still on the practice squad.
Oh, yeah.
But he was actually on the active roster for a long time.
Yeah.
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 Rourke.
And
No.
Cole
Rock.
Strange to IR.
Cole Strange to IR.
Not surprising. I think when he got pulled off. I mean, I'm kind of a little bit surprised we haven't heard anything else on any of those other injuries. So maybe that's a
Yeah.
good sign. But kind of holding my
We
breath
got a
on-
little bit
on
of a
Henry.
report. Not sure if it's how accurate it is about J.C. Jackson that might be something to do with some mental issues
Yeah.
or, but I don't. Who reported that?
A couple people did. His
Yeah.
agent was
His agent.
calling around
Okay.
on Sunday night, and mental health
Yeah.
episode of some sort.
So he had,
is the report.
people have anxiety attacks, and that could have happened just before the game, and that's why he was a late scratch. And who came in?
Yeah.
Alex
Austin.
Yeah.
Alex Austin, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people won't name names. Some people thought that it was a sign of the dysfunction with the Patriots that
Right.
J.C. Jackson was MIA, and then Alex Austin was thrown into the fire. And I think based off of the series of events, Sean Wade would have been active for the game, and J.C. Jackson would have been inactive if they had known the night before or something like that J.C. Jackson wasn't going to be available. So this was a true surprise. I think.
You go to all the practices, so you're a little bit more up to date on all of the injury. Was Sean Wade a healthy scratch?
Yes.
He was not on the injury report
Correct.
anyway? Yeah, then I would agree with that.
Yeah. So that's some news. Any other personnel news or?
They signed a couple guys. They brought back cornerback William Hooper, and they also signed running back Keyshawn Vaughn.
I think I saw Keyshawn Vaughn walking into the
Yeah,
building
so
this
they had a few spots open based on everything that happened. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know if did any of those guys go to the roster with Strange going to IR. It wasn't really clarified. And
Rourke
has to
Rourke
be on
is-
the roster.
Yeah, okay,
Rourke
so
claims
Rourke
claims.
is,
That was a
so
waiver
Rourke
claim.
took his spot
Yep.
then. So then they should still have a couple spots
For the
on-
rest
on
of the season, they have to have him on the roster. Oh, wait.
was it a 3-year deal, Paul?
It's three games.
Right.
Yeah. I remember him from that crazy play that he made with
Yeah.
Jacksonville.
It's making the rounds right
in
now.
the
preseason.
preseason.
Yeah.
Yeah, his one
Pulled an
highlight.
Eli Manning and shook off 12 tacklers
Yeah.
and launched
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
He's got a big arm, big kid, big arm. Not gonna say anything more glowingly than that.
Is it going to start
but
now of have you thought about putting Rourke in? Why didn't we put Rourke in? Do we have any packages for Rourke?
Mr. Rourke.
Mr. Rourke.
Welcome
boy.
to Gillette.
Yeah. But I mean, we truly are playing out the string. I mean,
That's exactly-
I mean, even when you listen to head coach Bill Belichick on,
Awfully formal there.
Well, only
when he
that-
was talking
who knows?
on Monday morning, just rattling off, McDermott was out and Cole Strange is gone, and Henry, and
Yeah, I heard it.
it was just there was
An
a certain amount of
excuse after
resignation
excuse.
in his voice. I thought.
It felt different to me this week, and
Yeah.
maybe I'm just stupid, but I don't know. I just
Probably.
even for me coming out of the game, it just kind of felt like, yep, it is what it is. Let's just continue it's hard to expect something different to happen. The only thing I'm really looking for now is for young guys to get a chance. So Alex Austin's still a rookie, give him a chance, and all those guys. But, to expect all of a sudden for them to turn a corner or to change the narrative, it's kind of, I think, asking a lot at this point.
Yeah. So what are we looking for in these last 3 games? Give us something. Because one of the things I want to do is I want to veer off the Patriots a little bit later in the show, and maybe do a consensus power ranking in the NFL. I was thinking of doing that.
Okay. Don't be afraid to have us be prepared in any way to do that.
No, but that's it's better to be spontaneous. But what should we be looking for as Patriots fans for these last 3 games? Give us something. Give me something.
I think.
Yes, Mike.
Like I said, Mapu. Just anybody who's a first or second year player. It's as much as it's disappointing that Strange went out when he was starting to string some games together. You're going to get a look at Mafi now, and he's going to get some more experience over the last few games. So anybody who can play and get in there and that you haven't seen much of, then I'm all for it. Give Kevin Harris another chance. He showed. He ran hard. He looked like a guy who'd been like chomping at the bit to get out there. So that to me is everything. Just especially in some interesting environments. See how how do they deal in Denver? It's a tough place to play. Buffalo's a tough place to play. And I think then we're going to turn the page to that last Jets game where I feel like all of a sudden it's going to feel like a must win because things just suddenly get really serious around here whenever they're playing the Jets. So I'm very curious what the tone is like going into that game because I feel like it will shift a little bit.
Should we be keeping our eye on post game interactions with Bill Belichick?
With like Broncos coaches, you mean? Or?
Like any of the players or coaches from other teams in these last 3 games?
I don't know. He was giving Travis Kelce was getting some
Pat
love,
Mahomes,
and Mahomes was getting some love
yeah.
from him. And
He has a relationship with Sean Payton as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if they have some pleasantries.
They both come from the Bill Parcells tree.
Yeah. But I think in this game too against the Chiefs, just watching it back, like, do they still have any sort of coaching chops? Like, you go up against a guy like Mahomes. Like, what's he got? What's he got for Mahomes? Like, regardless of if the 11 guys can go out there and actually execute it, like that's not his necessarily what I'm looking at. Just more, schematically, X's and O's wise. Like, is there a system still in place that makes you feel like you can make a case for hanging on to this regime and this coaching staff? And I thought in the game against Kansas City, there was some instances where Reed clearly had an upper hand over the Patriots, and just some third downs, red zone, like that sort of stuff, and they were outcoached in a lot of ways.
That one play that everyone's talking about, where Mahomes got into a 3-point stance.
The single wing.
Yeah. It took me 3 times to figure out how the ball got into the hands of the person who scored the touchdown. It really, it was so well executed, and but they practice that. They have guys who can execute it, and they're willing to do stuff like that.
The big screen pass too, I think, was another one. Of
those are the kinds of things. Well,
that
really
screen pass was a screw up, wasn't it?
Yes.
No, I think obviously, but it's something that you catch them in. Like when the Patriots do that to other teams, we don't say the other team screwed up. Like we say the Pharaoh Brown touchdown. Like great job by Billy O. It's kind of sad that we have to go back 12 weeks to find one, but you know what I mean? Like that was good play design.
Yeah, Duggar bit on the end around and was just going right for it. So, I don't know what the responsibilities were, but that's what they do. They know.
It was on Duggar. He told me after the game.
Yeah.
That was on me.
I think I'm sorry to disappoint
and
you.
Minus. No.
He struggled Sunday.
One of his. I think that was the worst game he's ever played as a Patriot in my eyes.
There was a report that came out after the game. I think it was Greg Bedard that said that they had approached Duggar early about a contract extension, and it was so far apart that they just haven't gone any further.
Typical, Bedard.
Throw it out there.
It was actually Mike Reese.
Why didn't you report it at that time?
No, and that's my point. Mike Reese in his Sunday notes had one of his items was that they had gone to Duggar. Now maybe Bedard didn't say this, and maybe this is a Fredism.
Maybe.
But if you heard Bedard say this after the fact, that's clearly it was Mike Reese wrote it before the game in his Sunday notes.
Okay.
That he wasn't. They were far apart, and Mike assumed that he will be getting to free agency, which is not a huge deal. 3 weeks left in the season. He's not signing now.
I think just to Greg's credit, Greg has called Kyle Duggar the Jamie Collins of safeties in the past, and I think that's such an accurate way to putting it, where he has.
So he'll be back 3 times.
Right.
Maybe
He's gonna sign a big deal, yeah.
he has these handful of splash plays a season, a game that you can say, wow, like look at this athleticism, look at this range, physicality. But when it comes to it, like down to down consistency, he's an undisciplined player.
He's not great in coverage.
No, he's just a very undisciplined player.
Could he also be Patrick Chung, where he's being used wrong, and then if he comes back, they figure out how to really use him?
I mean, maybe in some points of the season when he's been playing deep, it's not the role for him. But in this game, it was not because he was playing deep.
Yeah,
he's in zone coverage, and Mahomes looks him off, and he's 10 yards out of the passing window because Mahomes just looks left and then comes back right. And
I just remember a few months ago, Duggar was, why aren't they re-signing him?
Now
we're kicking him out the door.
I'll put my chips on the table. I want them to re-sign Duggar.
Yeah.
I recognize the flaws in the players. He's not a perfect player. Evan, I would agree everything with he just said. I don't think he's a great player in space, in coverage, but I think there's some value, and I do think there's even more value, and at some point you have to draft a guy, develop him, and give him a second contract. They have been very reluctant to do that for a while now, and I think that makes it hard.
Yeah, I would definitely still entertain re-signing him. I just think that based off of that report from Mike, if they're worlds apart, I'm not bridging the gap with him. Like he's a player to me that needs to be on a fairly reasonable contract. Like he's not somebody I'm paying like Derwin James money to, who also has had an up and down
Just so
year.
you know, I wouldn't give Derwin James money. But what would you what would you give? What would you think?
I think what the Browns just gave Grant Delpit is a good starting point. 3 years, $36 million.
Yeah, and I think you could. My guess is they're nowhere near that. That's my guess. I don't know the numbers. Mike didn't have any numbers in his.
My guess is that Duggar is nowhere near that. I'm not sure about them.
No,
but
my guess is they wouldn't offer him anywhere near that amount.
Probably not. But I think that Duggar would also put his nose up to that amount because I think
he might be looking more Jesse Bates than.
I think he thinks he's a better player than Grant Delpit, which he might be. But I just. At the end of the day, I feel like with him that you just wish that some of these things with his abilities and coverage were improving or were being coached out of him.
That's a good point.
Totally.
And I just feel like he's the same player that he was the last 2 or 3 years.
Speaking of coaching, a couple things that I was thinking about. Do we know where Adrian Clem is or what's going on with him?
Still not here.
I know he's not here.
So I did hear something.
What do you got there, Paul?
Wow.
Hello, what have we here?
It's a QR code.
That's very it's very unfortunate.
What happened?
Pizza Time's closed?
Yeah.
They got no power.
Forever?
Wait.
Forever?
No,
my gosh.
So that makes sense. There's a power outage. My gym is also in the same shop. My gym is also in the same shopping center.
This is a
Pizza
big moment
Time,
right here
and they were
for
closed
Paul
today.
and Fred.
I
my
am
gosh.
more likely going to pass, but I will check first.
If I can't have Pizza Time, I'm just not going to eat.
So in that shopping center, my gym is in that shopping center, and I couldn't work out today because
in the
it's
Pizza
closed.
Time one?
Yep.
My gym had the power was off. That's why I didn't work out.
Yeah, for those people who aren't from this area or the East Coast, we had not a hurricane yesterday, but a nor'easter that brought in, 60, 70 mile an hour winds, heavy rain, and a lot of people lost power yesterday, and a lot of people haven't got it back yet.
A lot of people in the building as well. A lot of coaches. We just spoke to a couple coaches, and some of them are without power.
Yeah, I got lucky.
School was canceled in my town
because
they still got.
Well, nowadays, it gets
soft.
Over.
I know.
Soft.
No, there's
70 degrees. That's
there's
too
people.
hot.
Yeah, there's people in town who haven't had power. But yesterday when I was driving home, I telling the guys I saw like a down power wire with like spitting sparks and fire just sitting there. It was like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully everybody's all right. Gets their power back.
Wow.
It's a little cold out there.
No, we don't know where Adrian Clem is. We don't know what's going on.
He said he has health issues.
Health issues.
I know, but
not this week. Was last week what he said.
Like, is it serious? Is like what's
that I couldn't tell.
I think it's more significant than people originally thought.
Okay.
It's not COVID.
No, I mean,
at this point he'd be back if it was just COVID.
I mean, is it? I wonder if it's like, a lot of people have problems that arise like after COVID. I wonder if it has something to do with that. Like
complications.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Long COVID.
It could be.
Like people do get long-term complications from that.
Yeah.
It's not COVID.
No, but she was saying
complications.
It could be. No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not complications from COVID.
No.
Okay, so you know what it is.
No, but I know it's not. I know what it's not.
Okay. All right. So that's that. And, it makes me.
According to what I was told.
It just makes me wonder,
I didn't examine them.
Yeah.
Someone told me.
What kind of coaching is the offensive line getting these days?
Well, and now they got 2 rookies. Probably they're going to be playing the guard spots. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen at left tackle. Hopefully Trent Brown can come back. But
so I worry about that. And that leads into my next question about coaching is let's assume that the players that are out there are going to be playing hard. Like every game's an audition. Everything's on tape. You're playing for your career. So I assume that anyone that's out there is going to be playing hard. But what's the approach of the coaching for these last 3 games? Is it like
I think you just focus on. I forget what the phrase was. I heard them say, but just focus on this game. Don't get too carried away in what it's all going to mean.
But even then,
all that.
a lot of the people that watched this last game, and I kind of agree with them, saying that the coaches, in particular Bill, kind of gave up a little bit at the end of that game. And we talked about it while Bill was doing his press conference that, with 14 and change, you're punting at 4th and 3 on your own 42 or something like that.
Yep.
That's kind of a white flag a little bit, I think.
It's a far cry from what you're used to, just with the old Patriots and Chiefs rivalry. And, just the end of the game was just so weird. I mean, they just take a knee inside the 20. I mean, I mean, we're spoiled. We remember the days when if there were 10 seconds left on the clock and you had Tom Brady, you were like, well, we better make sure we get every point we can. But it was just kind of jarring, both teams, the way they handled it.
And like we criticized Bill for that. But at the end of the day, you got Vidarian Lowe who comes in, who's your third string left tackle, and Strange is already out. Hunter Henry's out at that point. It's like, why throw these guys into the fire like that? Let's just.
Well, I mean, he always said. I mean, there's a couple of different things at work, and I feel like if you have guys on your roster, he says all the time, they wouldn't be on our roster if we didn't have confidence in them. Then all of a sudden it's 4th and 3 from the 42, and everybody just blindly accepts. He never said this, but everybody just blindly accepts that. Well, they didn't go for it because they had all those subs in there. Mm-hmm. Well, why didn't they call timeout in the second quarter before anybody had gotten hurt? When the other teams got the ball at the 2-minute warning at the 21-yard line. So time's not a factor. Kansas City's got the ball at the 21 with all 3 timeouts. They're going to either score a touchdown, a field goal, or somehow get nothing. But they're not going to run out of time because time's not an issue. So in my view, when you run the ball on first down in that situation, if you're Andy Reid, the Patriots should have immediately called the timeout.
Yep.
So now it's 2nd and 8 from the 19, and you have a timeout, and there's like a minute 55 left.
Yeah. So
instead, they didn't snap the ball again until 38 seconds went off the play clock.
So again, don't look at what they say, look at what they do. And what they're doing is showing us that he has very, very little confidence in his offense.
Or he's tanking.
Yeah. Well,
I'm not even going so far as to say tanking because I don't think they tanked last year, and they did the same stuff against Buffalo in that Thursday night game.
So, but I think, with that little confidence in your offense, what are they going to do for these last 3 games?
Yeah.
Like –
I don't even know if it has as much to do with offense as it does. He does. I think he's playing a lot of these games against teams that he knows are better to keep it as close as possible.
Managing defeat.
Ooh.
Great phrase.
Is that I coined it?
Managing defeat. I gave our buddy Dan Shaughnessy credit. Like, he likes to poke fun at the Red Sox. He says all the time, the illusion of contention with the Red Sox, the Chaim Bloom Red Sox. Now we have Breslow. Evidently running the show.
Correct.
So it's the illusion of contention for them. This is the illusion of competitive to me. Because the game really in the second half wasn't really competitive. And he told you that he didn't feel that way by his actions.
Yeah.
It's setting up for what I know would make Paul scream from the hilltops is, 7-1 score losses.
And he's,
you get a quarterback, maybe those go the other way.
You brought that up. I did a little research. I'll share later.
I was thinking of going back and looking at Bill's post-game press conferences this year and how many times, toward the beginning of each press conference, when he does his little monologue where he said, game was competitive. how many times he said that this year. He said it a lot.
Yep.
And it tells you that it's on his mind.
Yep. And I'll say another one, and Mike alluded to it about 10 minutes ago when we were talking about like the resignation in his voice, and he's rattling off all the names. This guy.
Yeah, right.
So there was one of the questions on Monday. I don't know if you guys caught the press conference, but early on, someone asked him about the amount of guys that have been thrust into bigger roles. There's been some guys that are, how have some of those guys handled the bigger roles? Well, there certainly have been a lot of those, was how he started the answer. I'm like, okay, so now if you're paying attention out there, we can't protect the football.
Can't protect the quarterback.
Right? Yeah. We can't protect the quarterback. We can't protect the ball. And we're beat to hell with injuries.
Yeah.
And we're still losing a lot of close games. That's what he's trying to convince. And now I don't know if it's like an effort if that's a message to Robert Kraft, like trying to rally and keep his job, if he in fact wants to be back.
I think he's tanking.
I don't think. Listen, every team in the league, especially this year, has lost important players to injury. Mm-hmm. I don't think injuries have had a big part of what the Patriots' record is.
Yeah.
They lost Christian Gonzalez and Matthew Judon. Those are two really big pieces to lose. I'm not diminishing that. Most of the rest have been on the margins. Like Juju Smith-Schuster not playing Sunday. That's not. You're 3-11 with him or without him.
No,
let's call it what it is.
Yeah, I know. But when you lose anyone who is a starter or a next-in guy,
you're like every other team.
Well, but
it's when you lose Joe Burrow that you separate.
But can you let me finish? When your starting guys aren't that good, and then you lose them, your next guy up is even worse.
No, but
whereas in other teams, maybe their hierarchy, their level of next guy up is higher.
But I'm giving them even more credit than that, because I do think Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez are good, solid starters.
Oh yeah.
Like but I don't think that the Patriots have had more losses to injury than any other team.
Yeah.
And I'd say too, the issues that they've had. Go back and listen to Patriots Unfiltered in April and May of last year, and they're all issues that we talked about. I mean, I know I talked about the lack of pass rush. I mean, you probably go find the show. What happens if Matthew Judon goes down? Your pass rush is going to take a huge hit.
It was a very thin roster.
Talk about tackle
about it
position,
a lot.
the tackle position.
But do you remember
like that's why I don't give them the out. Like these injuries, excuses, and stuff like that. It's like the line, whether it's been Trent Brown at left tackle, Cole Strange at left guard, or Antonio Maffie and Connor McDermott or Vidarian Lowe, it's been trash all season long. They have one of the worst offensive lines in the entire league. They are dead last in pretty much every single pass blocking metric in the league.
Like regardless of who's in there.
And that gets me back. That gets me back to the coaching. Like, are these guys getting good coaching?
Yeah.
Too.
Just I don't know if you felt this way, Evan, but I was watching the film back, but just seeing the contrast.
I love when he says that
between Joe Thuney and Cole Strange, and I don't mean to disrespect Cole Strange. I know he's been better. But you look at Joe Thuney, and it's just hard. And I know that they messed that whole thing up. But at the end of the day, it was like, why couldn't you have just kept Joe Thuney? I mean, it's probably your best draft pick of the last 10 years, maybe.
It's part of my point about at some point you have to draft these guys, develop them, and give them second
and you're looking at him, and you're like, we didn't need him. And we went to the first round to take Cole Strange, and again, and this is saying it as Cole Strange played okay, but Joe Thuney you see how calm he is, how smart he is, how strong he is.
Do you know he was at center on that play that Fred stopped?
Yeah, he blocked 3 different guys on one play I was watching, and it's just that's the difference. You see what a true elite guard looks like, and you had him, and all the shenanigans with franchise tags and everything you did with him, and it's just.
I've said it before. The problems with the offensive line started with that.
And it's like, not to compare Mike Onwenu to Joe Thuney or anything, but it's like it makes you wonder, like, how are they going to handle that situation? Like, are you going to bring him back, or are you going to be like, oh, we can go find another one?
Yeah, it's and I'm sure, like, at the time they could have given him a contract, but by this point, if you would give him a 3-4 year deal and he's still here, he would be a deal right now.
Peanuts.
He would be a deal.
It depends.
They created a mess for themselves. It started with Joe Thuney. Then in the same offseason, they trade Shaq Mason. They lowball Ted Karras. They lose 3 really solid players on the interior, and they've been chasing their tail ever since.
Yep.
And they've had to ignore issues at tackle because they've had to chase their tail at guard.
It's the combination. I agree with that. Like, I'm not necessarily. I didn't agree with franchising Thuney because I think it's too much money for
No, I would have.
It's based
you
on
extend it
tackle money.
before you have to franchise him.
But for what money? I don't want him to be one of the highest paid guys. I don't think that's good money spent. And I think Evan's right. When you plugged in Ted Karras, it was fine. It's when you let the Ted Karrases go over $1 million. Those are killers.
I know, but think about it.
That's a killer.
Let's just say, for argument's sake, at that time they reach an agreement before they had to franchise him and he becomes the highest paid guard in the NFL.
Yeah, I don't.
That's
like
only
that.
going to be for a little while. Right?
I don't like that.
And then
it's just me.
compare
I
it
mean, I
to-
get that he's a good player. I just don't value the position.
But now you'd be like, oh, I'm so
I
glad
know.
we did that.
But I compare the capital that you not only paid him on the franchise tag, but the first round pick you had to spend on Cole Strange to fill. I mean, there's a lot of things
There
you've
was
had
a
to
trick.
throw
I'd
in
rather
there.
have the highest paid corner or the highest paid edge rusher or the highest paid wide receiver because I'm pretty sure those guys are impacting your wins and losses. I don't think guards are.
The domino effect of Joe Tooney, Shaq Mason, and Ted Karras and the decisions that they had to then make after the fact to catch up on that.
That's what's the killer.
Because now you're using a first-round pick on Cole Strange instead of using a first-round pick at a different position where you could help your team more. And they just had that whole thing it has never settled down since the moment that they did all that.
And you could have given it to Tooney and make him the highest guy like Fred. And then you let Mason and Karras go. Okay, but it's like I'm not going to give it to Tooney. I had already redid Shaq Mason. Then I let him go. I trade him for nothing. And then I let Karras go over peanuts.
Right. I mean, in 21, their line was really good. And they had better coaching. Carm Brussello is a better coach than what they have right now. But they had Karras, Andrews, and Shaq Mason on the interior. Right. And it made sense that they wanted a spot for Mike Onwenu. So you get rid of one of those guys, but they got rid of both of them.
I didn't understand trading Shaq Mason.
Yeah. I think because they thought that Mike Onwenu was specifically a right side of the line player, and so was Shaq. But the
thing about Tooney is he can play all three left side positions. In a pinch, he can play tackle. That was the beauty of having Joe Tooney.
I mean, am I wrong to say he's their best draft pick in the last 10 years? I mean, I just kind of threw that out there, but I mean, overall, in terms of just
probably.
I mean, it's not a high bar, but probably.
Last 10 years.
Yeah. Why don't you go look?
I mean, 2013.
Yeah. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to say Barmore, but
I think Tooney is a better player.
I would
way more consistent.
I would probably.
I would
probably give it to Tooney.
It was just striking to just see because you can put it right next to each other, and you're watching. There's Joe Tooney. There's Cole Strange. You're seeing exactly just how stout Tooney is, and then you see Cole, who admittedly has been playing better. I think everybody knows that. I mean, Bill highlighted it too.
Convenient.
But it's still it's hard. It's hard for him. He just doesn't have the size.
It's terrible.
That answer to that question that I talked about bugged me. That certainly has been a lot of them. I don't know if you've paid attention.
Did you?
But, we were down. We were down Connor McDermott in this game. I don't know if you realize how much that. And that's not a disrespectful shot at Connor McDermott.
No, but the poor guy.
He's a journeyman sort of jag who is giving you everything he has.
Totally.
I thought last year he was played hurt. The whole end of the year last year when they were fighting to try to get. That's not a disrespectful. He is what he is. He's a backup lineman, and now when he gets hurt in the middle of a game, it's suddenly the difference between competing and taking a knee down 17.
They also, I don't know if you notice the other guys in their line, but their center, Creed, pretty darn good. Maybe one of the best centers in the league.
Yep.
And then Jawan Taylor, their right tackle, is a free agent this past offseason who they paid, and he's having a pretty solid year too. Sans the whole false
and they were missing their left.
But
they were missing their left tackle in the game too.
Yeah, he didn't play, but Wanya Morris, who's played at left tackle for them, had an up and down game for sure, but he's a draft pick that you could have taken in the 4th round instead of, let's say, City So or Jake Andrews or somebody like that who actually plays tackle, and they didn't. So this offensive line that was by far their biggest issue in this game on Sunday. The second half, their pressure rate was like 60%. They were getting through on blitzes constantly. You can't execute a drop back passing game like that. You can't push the ball down the field, even if there are opportunities to do so, when you can't block anybody up front. And I thought that his immediate answer to the question, Bills, on the 4th down was that we can't block anybody.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how it played out. They were literally unable to execute anything other than quick game and little dunky dunks.
And we don't have to belabor the whole their approach point. But that was part of what bothered me is like they didn't block anybody on the touchdown that they went for on 4th and 2 either.
Yeah.
He got immediate pressure on that. He bought just enough time, and he made a pass.
Yeah.
Like, that can happen. Like, you're down 17 in the 4th quarter. So isn't the risk of maybe I can get a little lucky here better than I'm just going to punt it to him and hope that they throw an interception in 2 possessions?
Yeah.
Their line play is brutal.
Yeah.
It is absolutely horrible to watch.
And then, to stay on the offense, you look at the body language of Bill O'Brien on the sideline, and it's a lot of just shaking his head.
I saw a clip yesterday after the first series of the game where he looked like he just wanted to fight somebody.
Yeah.
He didn't yell at anybody, but the look on his face, he just came walking. I was like, that's the first possession of the game. That's how we're going 3-and-out to start this game. Like, did anybody listen at all during? Like, I had all this in my mind. Like,
yeah, because
look on his face.
First down, they send a run blitz, backside safety blitzes off the line of scrimmage. Nobody blocks them. Blown up in the backfield. Second down, pressure, nothing. Third down, Bailey Zappi throws a freaking dirt ball to Pop Douglas, who was open for the first down punt. Like that's that offense right out of the gate. And it's so much of it starts up front, and these teams are just coming downhill at the line of scrimmage.
Right, there's
against
nothing
the
to
run.
worry about.
No,
you give up one play, that's fine. It doesn't matter. So I just see and I sense this resignation on some of the coaches, including the head coach.
Well, like everybody wants Bill O'Brien to, and I'm not trying to excuse him or absolve him of everything, but everybody wants Bill O'Brien to like dress it up better and cook it up better. And it's like when you drop back to pass and the quarterback hits the top of the drop and he's got 2 guys in his face immediately, like what do you want Bill O'Brien to scheme up? Like what do you expect him to be in the lab doing at that point in time when they play action and Bailey Zappi is the most blitzed quarterback in the league on play action. 60% of the time when they run play action, he's getting blitzed because teams are run blitzing and they're just attacking the line of scrimmage, whether it's a run or it's a play action. Either way, they're going to be in the backfield and there's just nobody blocking it. Like, what do you want them to do? Honestly, like at this point.
Look at the running game.
It's not fair.
At least when they had Stevenson, I thought there was at least some signs that it was getting a little better running the ball. Since he went out, it's back to under 3 yards a carry this week. They squeaked over 3 yards a carry for Ezekiel Elliott in the Pittsburgh game on the last play of the game. He had a 12-yard run on his last run of the game.
And it was short of the first down, if I remember.
Right. No, but like it was because they had gotten a penalty, and it was like 2nd and 15 or 3rd and 15 or wherever it was. And he got 12 yards to average 3.1. Like, they can't run the ball at all.
Yeah,
and that's why you're getting play-action blitzes.
Yeah, I was watching the Broncos against the Lions last night, and the Lions line is just incredible. I mean, it's beautiful to watch. Like the unison that they block with, it's just fantastic. And you just look at Jared Goff just standing there with all the time in the world, clean pocket, and it just
you're open.
Yeah, and just throwing the ball. Like, I did not know. I said this to you off air. Like, I did not know that Jared Goff had that kind of arm strength. But because he's able to just step into every single throw and sling it, I mean, it's just like they can do whatever they want because their line is going to block it, whether it's in the run game, the pass game, whatever. And then you watch the Patriots film, and it's just like an absolute sieve.
Chaos.
They can't do anything.
Chaos.
Right.
And even last night the Eagles, I know they lost, but like their interior, I mean, they just move people.
Big dudes.
Seems like the Eagles are getting a little payback from those games that they had where it was kind of sketchy.
Yeah.
Referees coming back at them the other way. Like the Dallas
they
game.
They got Kelsey for the little
God, there was some bad calls in that game last night against them.
All right, food's here. Paul's hungry.
I can't make fun of Fred because evidently he doesn't eat anymore.
I got food too, guys.
We'll be back. We'll get to your calls and emails after this.
Get in on the action with DraftKings, the official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots. New customers can download the DraftKings app now and play free for millions in prizes using code PATS. That's code PATS only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
iPhone 15 Pro on Verizon. This holiday, trade in any iPhone in any condition for the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All on us with unlimited Ultimate. Go to your local Verizon store now. 6 months of Apple One, then $10 per month. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited Ultimate plan required. Less $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Apple TV 4K and Apple One offers require eligible phone purchase with activation on unlimited Ultimate. Additional terms and conditions apply. Visit Verizon.com for details.
we're back after a little hiatus. It's been a couple weeks, it feels like, has it?
Yeah, you haven't had
Couple
me on
shows.
in a while.
Faith is back. PU halftime show.
Yes.
Start with some trivia as usual. And
As always.
this is random. I literally just whipped this together. So,
Oh, boy.
All right, question 1, and you're gonna get a T-shirt, I think, a poster. You're getting something.
Getting cool stuff.
You're getting something. All right, question 1. What year did the NFL switch from Reebok to Nike as their jersey supplier?
Wow.
Yeah, know that one?
I don't.
Okay. Question 2. How many career sacks did Teddy Bruschi have? And question 3. When was the last time that the Patriots had a top 10 draft pick? Okay. Because it looks like that's where we're heading.
All right, on to
we might be top
2024.
5. All right, so we've been doing Thursday night previews, but the games are dying down. And so as I was walking down the studio with Faith, I was like, let's switch it up a little. And I think we're going to talk about a big issue in the league, which is the quarterback play and injuries and everything. I mean, Saturday we had Ian Browning versus Nick Mullins.
Yeah, a lot of nobodies are getting their chance to try to make the name for themselves.
And it's just crazy because there's a lot of quarterbacks like still on the street. Like I mean, Cam, his last year he was okay, but hey, we had a better record with him than we do now.
I mean, Cam thinks half the league is just system quarterbacks anyway. So.
There you go. There's that, which is a whole other issue. Let's just run through some of the issues around the league. So we got the Giants.
Yes.
With Tommy DeVito, Tommy Cutlets, which it's been a good story, but let's be real, that's probably gonna end eventually.
I feel like this season has been defined by good stories and then like bad results.
Exactly.
Like, you look at Dobbs,
or
like,
you get
great story, and then it just kind of.
Or you get a little Linsanity run, like Dobbs, who went
Yep.
from the pastronaut to the astronaut, as some would say. I don't know, Matt, you can cut that out if you want. We had the Bears. They had Tyler Bagent. He's gone.
Something another. Yep.
The Vikings, Josh Dobbs, Nick Mullins, Jaron Hall. And, these injuries are unfortunate because, Kirk Cousins, contract year, older guy. Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in, see what happens. There's only so much you can do about these non-contact injuries.
And he also rushed to get healthy, obviously hoping to be in the playoffs.
And now you saw he wants to play.
Why?
But
Why would
now
you
there's
play
literally no reason to play.
For no purpose.
Because they're out. They got eliminated for good. So now it's just rest up. The Texans, we had Case Keenum sighting this past weekend, which they won. Which also I think that means they should get the Oilers jerseys back. But that might be a separate topic for.
That's a whole nother halftime show. But yes, we got some Case Keenum because C.J. Stroud has been down now, and I also think at this point in the season nobody's fully healthy.
No.
But especially when your quarterback is not fully healthy, like in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence, I feel like we saw him just struggling through pain all of this last Sunday.
It's annoying because, we see these, really iffy roughing the passer calls, which I'm kind of the mindset of, you throw the flag, the guy already got hit.
Yeah.
You already got hit, so what are we doing? They're going to get hit. It's a contact sport. But it's just bad, and I don't know how to fix it. And I don't know how you can fix it because there's no, developmental league.
Exactly.
That's a whole other subject, too. But then, you got the whole NFC South, which is, their starters are just gross.
Yes.
As, the Falcons.
Yeah.
Desmond Ridder, Heineke, who I like Heineke.
Yeah.
Derek Carr, who's a below average starter. Then you got Baker Mayfield, who's turning into a little bit of a journey.
Who had a perfect passer rating this past Sunday.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing. He's setting the bar right now. So I don't know what to do or how we do it. The NFL's got an issue because, they flexed up. Because also we left out us. The Patriots, we have an issue
I think
too.
we did that on purpose.
we have an issue too. And, they flexed us out of Monday night, which that was fun for us because we had a normal Sunday.
Yes.
But they were very close to having Monday night, which ended up being a good game. It was close to being Drew Lock versus Marcus Mariota.
Oh
it was very close.
But then you have people like Joe Flacco coming in, doing well after, how many years has he not really been playing?
Yeah,
it's really kind of proven himself.
It's interesting. So then I mean, you hear this a bunch, but, the backup quarterback position is going to turn into the most valuable position because these guys can't, especially with the extra game, they're probably going to add another game. So,
and just when you look at how fast injuries can happen and how you have to be able to adjust on the fly, you look at the Jets, you look at the Vikings, you look at the Jaguars, the Bengals,
Colts,
the Chargers. They didn't really bounce back at all.
People forget the Colts had Anthony Richardson. He was looking good, and now they got Minshew Mania's back.
Yeah, and so I feel like this season specifically, we just have weeks on weeks where it's just second string, third string quarterbacks are playing. So it's definitely a valued position now.
It's frustrating because sometimes you see these games like that Saturday game, Vikings Bengals. That you could say that's a preseason matchup.
Oh, for
like
sure.
the players.
And I think the scoring is like off the charts. You either got 70-point games or it's like 9-7.
Well, the Thursday night game also.
Like,
The
what are we
we
doing?
left that out. It was
Yeah.
Easton Stick versus Aiden O'Connell, who looks like the guy from Super Troopers.
Yes, but I mean, then he puts up like 60. They had 63 plays, 63 points.
And you know what?
Crazy.
And that's the thing. If that's the score we're getting, I don't care.
Oh, true.
I don't care.
I'd rather nobody come in here and score 63 than we have the Carolina Falcons, Carolina versus Falcons game where it's like 7-9.
Yeah, which is crazy. And did you see those stands?
Oh, yeah.
Those and that, I mean, everybody takes the halftime pictures. You don't know, but
I
that was
feel
tough.
for their content team for sure, having to try to produce stuff when
Especially
your
when
fans are boycotting your own team. Like,
and tickets are going for 45 cents. Which I'm gonna do a little tangent here as an NFL fan, and now I work with the team, but if I see tickets for 45 cents, I'm going.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, rain or shine, like, why not?
I'm
It's an
going.
NFL game.
Rain maybe, because Chargers game now is miserable, but
Fair.
45 cents. There you go. You can go off. Your whole
Yeah.
budget for the ticket goes to hot dogs and
I mean,
beers.
sure, you're probably gonna pay $5 in fees, but
That's fine. That's fine.
that's
Better
crazy.
than the Taylor Swift fees,
Yeah. Speaking of Taylor Swift, we had her in the building this past Sunday.
She was
if you
here.
haven't heard.
The queen, as they might say.
Oh, as I say, yes. The queen was in the building.
I will say we posted the picture of her smiling for the camera, but they didn't leave out the part where she did not look happy on the screen.
Oh, yeah, they definitely left the video a little bit too long, but apparently she was fine with being put on the screen. I guess she just didn't want to be on the screen that long.
There you go. Hey, she means a lot to this venue, and I'm sure
means a lot to me.
I'm sure she'll be back. She'll be back. Maybe not as a Chiefs fan, but for her tour, whatever that is again. I don't know. Is she doing
Run it
another?
back.
Yeah.
I think she is gonna run. She has another U.S. leg, but I don't think Gillette Stadium has been included.
Yeah,
So.
well, I'm sure we'll get that eventually. But
Hopefully.
Faith, I think we switched up the topic. I'm glad we did that because. But I will say, talk about Thursday night football. I think we have 1 or 2 games left, and I tell all my friends when they're like, "I don't want to watch this trash." I'm like, "You're gonna be asking for it when it's March."
Yes.
And
exactly.
the only thing on is like Red Sox versus Padres or something like
boy.
that. But guys, send your trivia answers into webradio@patriots.com, and let's get back to the show.
The official daily fantasy partner of the New England Patriots. New customers can download the DraftKings app now and play free for millions in prizes using code PATS. That's code PATS only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
iPhone 15 Pro on Verizon.
This holiday, trade in any iPhone in any condition for the new iPhone 15 Pro with titanium, Apple TV 4K, and 6 months of Apple One. All on us with unlimited Ultimate. Go to your local Verizon store now. 6 months of Apple One, then $10 per month. $999.99 device payment or full retail purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited Ultimate plan required. Less $1,000 trade-in/promo credit applied over 36 months. Promo credit ends if eligibility requirements are no longer met. 0% APR. Apple TV 4K and Apple One offers require eligible phone purchase with activation on unlimited Ultimate. Additional terms and conditions apply. Visit Verizon.com for details.
And now, great moments in history.
Here's what I would like you to adopt on Unfiltered and every other thing that you do in here, God knows what, during the week. Take a little more Zen approach, and you're in the moment. Whatever you're doing, you do that.
No, we have to
okay?
eat. It's fuel.
How about 11 minutes? Is that egregious? Is 11 minutes
in
a
the
long
whole
time?
day? You see, here's the thing. His workday is 4 hours. Our workday is 10 hours.
Yeah.
That's what he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Now, does
That's what he doesn't understand.
In Hardy's defense, he works more than 4.
Does that include when I'm here doing the revs or I'm doing my satellite
I'm talking
radio
about
show
on a single
every
day. On a single day.
On a single
we are
day,
not
I
here
work-
to do the podcast/radio show.
Okay.
We're here to do other things. We throw that in for our fans.
And
our fans understand that we need to eat.
Right. You and I both carry a little personal work meter.
Do you
with us
believe in
during the week.
UFOs, Hardy?
And you just
let's talk about UFOs.
Wow.
You know what?
He's going there.
And I'm
going there.
That's another great moment from
Oh boy.
Was that an Andy he? It sounded
No, that was
like
me.
Andy.
That was me.
Oh man, you guys got into it. That was when Hardy decided I'm out of here. I'm leaving this show.
No, that's the thing. We kid.
Mike and I had to coax him back.
That's a long time thing with
He
Hardy.
didn't mean it,
Our
Hardy.
breaks are
He
so
didn't-
long.
He respects your
mean it.
music shows. He respects them.
He also told me that that he's worried about you being mad at him about fly fishing. His takes on fly fishing.
Why would I be mad?
He said, Fred is ready to fire me anyway. He didn't like what I said about fly fishing on my music show.
That's perfect.
He has a sense of humor, unlike a lot of other people in
That's-
the
that's
radio
so-
biz.
that is
And that's
so
why
true.
he's so hard to replace.
In the
'cause
radio
you could
biz.
have some fun. That's my biggest worry, that we're going to get
He's
somebody
not dead, guys.
who
You know
doesn't.
that,
No, I
right?
know, but we're just like, we get some stiff in here who can't talk Jaws and have some silliness, and then it's going to get stale.
Yeah, so we have to think. We have to, think about this, and
Again, send your resumes. Paul Perillo, care of
But
Patriot Place.
But much like the Patriots coaching staff, we've had a brain drain when it comes to pre and post game hosts. Like we're, who's left?
Well, you've had stability for a long time, and now it's
to get a job for myself though.
What's
We're going to
that?
franchise you, Paul. You can't go anywhere.
We'll
hit you with the tag.
I just create better opportunities for others, just not myself.
Maybe we should bring in the bartender.
Oh.
Hey, hello, pie. Watch out.
Yeah.
We could do
I
worse.
like Barth.
Yeah. We could do worse than
could.
that.
No, he could do the
I
job.
like Barth.
Is Barth a
funny.
host or a guest?
No, he'd be the host.
He could be a host.
No, I know, but I'm talking about who is Alex Barth?
I think he's a host.
Isn't he a better guest than
No,
he is a
actually,
host?
I think he's a better host.
Yeah,
Really?
I'm with
Yeah,
Evan.
and
He's really
in
funny.
my time working with him, which is quite a bit now, I always love when he hosts because he just sets the table, and then all I have to do is think about my take.
So he's better for
the
you.
beauty of that.
Yeah.
It's much easier. That's why we want that
Yeah.
seat to be
Right.
filled.
Right.
But
I feel like-
you need that host that can hit the posts.
But I feel like Alex is. I feel like Alex is also
He did
funny.
that good.
Yeah.
Alex is also very funny. I think.
Alex? Yeah.
Yeah.
At his core, I
Everyone's
would,
like,
at his core, I hope he doesn't take offense to this. At his core, I would say that hosting is that's being a radio host, a Felger or somebody like that is his dream job.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say that's at his roots.
Well,
is more
I
that.
mean, if you're in radio, right?
Yeah.
That's
You wanna be the guy in the
You want to
chair.
be the guy.
Yeah. Well, that's what just
Or the
makes
gal.
It, right. It makes it so much easier for us, though, that we come we're stuck waiting for Taylor Swift to get down the elevator, and
That was ridiculous.
Hardy's got it. The show has started. He's got plenty to say. It's all taken care of. We just have to sit here and answer questions.
Yeah. But you have to read the reads, and you have to get to the breaks.
Hardy,
and
Hardy
Wait,
put that.
you have
to
to
read the reads, which you didn't even do today.
I know. I don't have any in front of me.
Is that done? No. Oh, is Matt not in there?
You
Matt
have
left.
to, keep the flow of the show
It's hard.
going.
It's a hard
You
job.
have to-
There's so much the days when you're out
Read
and I'm like, I got to
emails.
host. It's like a whole different thing than just sitting here responding to you as you
It's
set the
different.
table. It's so much
It's
easier
different.
sitting in this seat than that seat.
I was gonna tease him on the last show. I might do it because we got an email about how Hardy tries to make the emails like theater.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we told him. We told him.
And I was gonna say, Hardy, I really need to apologize to you. And then to be like, what? He goes, I encourage you to put a little bit more feeling into the emails, but apparently our listeners really don't like it. They don't think you do a good job. He gets so mad.
He did a good one. We told him about that on the show this week, and we're like, they were busting your chops about that, and then he went into a whole, email reading that was very dramatic. But he's funny.
Oh, it's good.
I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you, Bob.
Yeah.
Jeez, my God.
Yep.
It's okay.
Pour one out for the guy.
All right. Speaking of someone who would probably want to be the host of the pre and post game show, Patty and Agawam's
Hey.
on the Ace Ticket Hotline. What's up, Patty?
Only if I could get drunk, Freddie.
Oh,
well,
And you're out.
Callers need not apply.
Yeah.
So, Fred, you were talking about Belichick and how inept the offensive talent was, and then guys start dropping. And I just wanted to make a point about him and kind of end it with a question. We saw in Dynasty Part 1 and 2 how, the offensive line wasn't great, but it was at least good, and it seemed like they had decent depth too. And over the last few years,
And Dante.
we're
was
kind
great.
of relying on guys like Trent Brown, who's unreliable. We create holes at guard, and the guys that we get for depth pieces, they're terrible. Not to say that you go second, third string around the NFL, guys that are sitting on the bench aren't really all that great. That's why they're on the bench. But what do you think that is? What do you think he's missed? Because he has been able to identify talent on both ends of the line, on offense and defense. And do you think if they don't get rid of him, let's say that he agrees to come back and just only become a coach, do you think that Kraft loses a little credibility with the fans? That's all I got. I'll take it out here.
If he comes back, there's going to be a definite, significant portion of the fan base that's pissed about it, for sure.
Yeah, two things. One, their offensive lines during the dynasty were fantastic. I don't know what he's talking about that they weren't good. Dante Scarnecchia probably should be in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like their line play for years was incredibly good. But I think that yes, there's a talent issue across the NFL with offensive line play that probably relates to the lack of padded practices and real time to drill technique and things like that. That makes a second string guard in today's day and age probably a little bit worse than a second string guard 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's what makes it so much more important to invest in the guys at the top, the premium players, because there isn't a lot of depth around the league in offensive line. And so that makes a big difference between Jawan Taylor and Calvin Anderson. There's a big drop off between those two players.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, as a guy who watches a lot of the line play, and admittedly I don't. So do you think that a Joe Andruzzi and a Dan Conley, Russ Hochstein, do you think they're much more talented than Cole Strange?
I wouldn't say more talented. I think those guys all were tougher and stronger players on the interior, which I think has been Cole's. I'm not questioning his toughness. I just mean he, his ability to move people and things like
City,
that.
So those kinds of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my feeling is that I think that Brady doesn't get nearly enough credit for how well the offensive line played. Because I think that Patty, and I agree with Evan, they had 1 year, I think it was 7, they had 4 Pro Bowlers out of the 5 offensive linemen.
5 layers of protection.
But I think that what really stood out to me was when, the year that, was it Dan Copen was the center that got hurt? And then they went through 4 centers.
Yeah,
it's Nick McDonald.
I remember
they
were 5 deep at center.
And
yeah.
you didn't notice. You didn't notice at all.
Brady noticed.
Brandon Gorin playing, tackle out of nowhere. Tom Ashworth. Yeah. These guys were undrafted, converted tight ends.
Yeah.
You throw them in, and they were no different than Nate Solder and Matt Light.
But I also think that the game is changing a little bit, even since.
Yes. Evan's point about the practices is accurate.
Well, that plus the game itself, from the early 2000s, I think what's being asked of offensive linemen these days is a little bit different than, in the past. And I think one of the problems the Patriots are having, and again, it goes back to coaching, is communication.
Yeah, that's my point about the line play.
These defenses are getting
now
sophisticated. It's not just I'm just beating you one-on-one all the time.
But
it's communicating.
Do you give Brady any credit for that communication?
I do.
Well, I do.
I go to what Dan Copen said, because I think he was asked when he went to Denver what was the difference, and he was like, Brady did everything. So, how much, the quarterback, when we saw it last week with Zappe, misidentifying the mic, not setting the right protection. All these things are things that Brady would always know where the pressure's going to be. He'll call the right mic. He knows where he's going to be hot.
So part of it's physical ability, but a lot of it also is just communication and the cohesion and just being smart offensive linemen.
Yeah, I think that was my point more to Patty's point about their lines not necessarily being up and down or whatever he said during the dynasty, is that they were so buttoned up as a group that the Tom Ashworths and the Joe Andruzzi's and the Dan Connollys, they could survive with players like that because of Brady, a lot of it, and because of Dante. That was a lot of it too. And, both those guys come back because one's going into the Patriots Hall of Fame, the other's ringing the bell in week 1, and neither one of them are walking through the door.
Yeah. They just kept ringing the bell.
And I always, during this dynasty, I always felt like there were games in September where they would be like, oof, they're off. I remember, did they lose to the Jags here maybe one year?
The immortal game in Kansas, the game in Kansas City when the dynasty ended in 14 was
Eric out the window.
Jordan Devy playing
guard. In the Miami game that year, right? Week 1 Miami, that's Revis's year, right? Yeah, and they lost, and Jordan Devy was a really surprise starter. No one that was covering the team at that time, if I remember correctly, thought that Devy was gonna be starting. But I've thought way too much about the whole alert system with the quarterback and how much that is really. Is there anybody else on planet Earth besides Tom Brady that can do it at a high level?
Yeah.
And when you start to think about, all right, if you're going to draft Drake May, if you're going to draft Jaden Daniels, you really think that one of those quarterbacks is going to come in here and be a field general and start directing mic points and sliding protections?
Saw that from Mac. according to the Twitter machine early in the season.
That's a real concern to me because you start to talk about like bogging guys down mentally and affecting them where now all of a sudden they're thinking so much because they have all
and then
these
the
things
snap
to think
comes
about.
with half a second left.
Yeah. And I don't know, Zappy in this game, when you see guys running through unblocked and things like that, in their eyes, that's the quarterback. The quarterback didn't set the protection properly, and I just wonder too with this group, like you have David Andrews. He's a captain in the veteran center that's been doing it for a decade. Like why is the second year quarterback calling the mic points instead of the center that's probably your most experienced player in the building? Yeah. I just feel like none of that makes any sense, and they're one of a few teams that put this much on the quarterback.
I just think identifying the mic is overrated. Don't you think? It's like isn't it kind of a guess?
No,
I don't think it's overrated.
Okay, so
I think that sets the protection.
Great. Here's your middle linebacker.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's not the middle linebacker. It's the midpoint of the protection.
Okay, so what?
Okay, so like when Zappy got sacked by the corner blitz in the game on Sunday, he set the mic point incorrectly. He set the mic point strong side when he should have sent it backside, and because he sent it strong side instead of backside, nobody was there to block.
Yeah, but
the corner.
if I'm an opposing defense, as soon as I hear the quarterback identify me as the midpoint, we know what to do. We're going to screw that up.
I don't think it's that simple.
No,
because then you're like making split-second changes, like with as the ball's being snapped.
No, I don't know. I don't know if it's a split second. You practice. It's like if he calls this, we do that. If he calls that, we do this.
And I've heard. Now listen, I never played at that level, so I don't know how intricate it is. But I've heard many times, Dussault's the mic, and then they do switch. No. Lazar's the mic. You hear it all the time.
Right.
As they change like that, they reset the protection.
But you look at different.
So if you're wrong, you're going to be in trouble.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't think it's overrated.
Well, you just look at different systems, like the Shanahan tree, for example. Like the 49ers, the quarterback doesn't call anything. Okay, so if there's a blitz, well, I mean, he's the best offensive mind in the game, Paul. Sorry.
MVP. No, I was going more with Purdy.
Oh, sorry.
Finish your thought, though.
Okay,
he doesn't call anything.
So he doesn't call anything, right? And so if the defense sends the blitz off the edge, like the Chiefs were doing a bunch on Sunday, Purdy has a programmed answer into the original play call of how we're going to beat this blitz.
Right.
So that's different. Whereas here, they ask Bailey Zappi to identify pre-snap that this corner is going to blitz.
To me, it's a guess.
It's an educated guess.
Okay. And I think it makes it even harder if you're asking the center to do it, who's like in the trench, and to look up and
that's probably why they have the quarterback do it, but there's so many offenses now that are going away from that. And I also go back to like Cam, who said after they cut him that he had never identified a mic point in his life until he came to New England.
I don't think he knows much about football. But anyway, go ahead.
Right. You're out of your mind. I really do think you're out of your mind.
He knew how to play.
Right.
The guy that's the MVP of the league doesn't know anything about reading defenses.
Because he was the best athlete on the field.
Yeah, that's why he was that good. But you think he didn't know how to read a defense?
I don't.
Okay.
No, not at an NFL level.
I'm not sure if I would go there, but that's besides the point. His center would call the protections for him in Carolina, and all that made let Cam do. He just be Superman,
right?
Just go out there and don't read a defense. I'm not going that far, but allowed him to just worry about being Cam Newton. Yeah. And he won MVP of the league.
We were all wrong. I thought he was going to be better than he was too. We don't have to hold it against him for the rest of his life.
I think he got by on his athletic ability.
Yeah, I think that his strength was his ability, no question about it. But don't tell me he couldn't identify a mic.
He couldn't do it when they asked him to do here.
Yeah, because that was the problem. It had nothing to do with the fact
that
they
changed all the terms. He was out for 2 weeks.
To be fair,
his problem in 2020 was that he never knew what he was supposed to do. Not that he couldn't do it.
Right.
It was that he didn't know what he was supposed to do. He kept getting fooled.
I think that's
to be fair. That's what he said
by the defense.
That's what he said when he did that big thing with his father after he was cut by the Patriots.
Oh no, about the whole they changed the offense when I was out.
No.
He did say that.
No,
Fred's right about that.
Not that part. I'm talking. He said that this playbook was as sophisticated as anything he had been
for
a
him.
part of.
Yeah.
For anybody.
For him.
Fred, anybody besides
Fred,
Tom Brady.
I could give you a laundry list. Torrey Holt said the same thing. Does he stay?
And
Chad Ochocinco said the
and
same
I've also
thing.
heard other people say it's not that complicated.
Reggie Wayne.
The people that
he didn't even want to do it because it was so hard.
The only
He said
people
no.
that they can develop at the receiver position is guys that used to play quarterback, because it's the only people that can understand what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like every
It's a fair point. Edelman, Myers,
right.
Like
Every single young
End of
player
list.
that comes into this system is
why they
confused
should have
as
given
hell.
it to Malik.
They're like, what the heck am I doing? Pop Douglas, Tyquan Thornton, like none of them know how to run routes in this offense. None of them understand it. So at what point does calculus? How much is that holding them back? Like that's what they have to ask themselves more than anything.
It's a great random Cam Newton shot.
Yeah,
I love Cam Newton, but I don't think he was.
I don't think that was his strength. Was
No.
being a film junkie and breaking it all down. But to suggest that he didn't know how to read a defense,
Not to the level
and played
that,
at that level,
Not to the
was
level that's
silly.
required here.
Well, I don't think anybody has had that level since
It's
Brady
one
left.
person.
I don't think anybody.
Well, that's
Mr.
Great
My
offense.
superpowers, my brain doesn't have that ability.
We got
Mac
spoiled.
Jones.
We got spoiled, and I think the coaching staff got spoiled by having Tom Brady.
But do you think that Mac Jones has never read a defense before? He can't do it at this level.
Yeah. I don't. I think he got spoiled by being at Alabama. This is easy. Oh no, it isn't.
I mean, I would look to Bill O'Brien. Is he going to stick around? Are they going to, continue? And I also just brought up the point of what did Bill O'Brien run in Texas, in Houston?
Where'd Debbie Downer come from?
No, what did he run in Houston? Was this the same?
Yeah.
Were these complication problems in Houston with, Watson and Nuke and all those guys down there?
The Houston system was interesting because it was a modified version because it featured Watson's mobility so much more than what they were doing here. But he ran a lot of empty in Houston, which he does. Bill O'Brien's empty package is a big deal. But he ran a lot of empty in Houston, where Deshaun Watson, if there was a protection issue, he just ran out of it. You know what I mean? And that's what he said. He said, Deshaun was so good at being an empty because he's his own pass protection. So if there's an issue with the mic point, he's not a sitting duck in the pocket. He can just run around and make something happen from there. And they don't have anybody like that right now.
I wonder what it was like when B.O.B. came back and what was the repatriotification of the offense? Was this, he sits down with Bill, all right, this is what you were running in Alabama, this is what you were doing in Houston, but we're going to get back to these things. And again, I can't get out of the back of my mind last offseason when they said we're going to simplify the offense. They seemed so gung-ho on simplifying the offense last offseason. Did that go by the wayside? Were there things that they implemented, that they couldn't keep? They said those things last year.
And I'm all for simplifying it as long as you have good players. Because the more simple you get, the more you just have to beat the other guy across from you.
Yeah, that's
that's
a fair point. We've got to stay complicated because we don't have the horses to do it. So there has to be some element of this. Yeah.
I don't know. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, they got a lot of work to do. They got to rebuild from the studs.
Let's go to Kevin in South Carolina. Hey, Kevin. Kevin.
Hey, gang. How's everybody?
All right.
Hey, Kevin.
How are you?
Hey,
Mike's intrigued.
I got a James Harrison story.
Okay.
I got
Lotion?
a comp for Paul. James Harrison's good at football. Y'all allude to him in the top. You say James Harrison without a shirt on is intimidating. I agree.
Okay.
Here in South Carolina, food and beverage, that's the industry. It ain't shoes or things that exist in, Massachusetts. Jamie Harrison came into a what we call a hospitality and tourism. We call it a hotel. And there were Snickers on the bar. And he asked for some Snickers. I know the girl who offered those Snickers to him that day, fellas.
Yeah.
She gave him every bag in the house.
Okay.
He's an intimidating man.
Yes, he is. And by the way, we call them hotels up here, too.
What else?
No kidding.
Yeah.
I grew up there. I remember that part. Thanks,
Yeah.
Fred.
Yeah. Okay. So.
That's my comp.
So is that it?
There.
All right.
No, I have a comp
Thanks.
for Paul, if that's okay.
Oh, I just blew up the wrong person. Okay.
Sakes, Fred.
He had a comp for Paul.
Yeah. Whoever was on the other line, call back.
I don't
know what that story was about.
I don't understand. It might be a good time to segue.
He wasn't. He's an intimidating guy. Yes. So she gave him every Snicker in the house.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next.
Speechless.
Oh. So the whole, we're talking about Bill, and we were wondering, some of the resignation in the voice. Is there some excuse making starting? And Like the competitive. Okay, so the Patriots do have the most one-score losses, 7. And I only looked at bad teams. The teams that they're fighting with for draft position. So Arizona has 4. Carolina has 5. Tennessee has 6. So like these are the bad teams. Chicago has 5. The Chargers have 5. Like, if you're a bad team, chances are you've lost a lot of close games. Because that's the way the league is.
But how many teams have been blown out 34-0? And
all right.
I
didn't prepare that.
I'm saying, but mixed in with these close games are some utter blowouts.
Right, and my guess is that the bad teams, like one of the teams that didn't have a lot of close losses, I think the Giants only had 3, because they have had like they lost 24-6 the other day.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Washington even has 5 one-score losses out of their games, and they haven't really been competitive really since they beat the Patriots.
Yeah,
I feel like this is like a bigger picture thing because we're getting the power rankings eventually.
I can't wait. That was part of why I brought it up too, the whole power ranking.
I feel like this is what the league like thinks that this is parity. Like this is like kind of what they wanted, was it to be less super team oriented and more parity. It's kind of just made it worse.
Yeah,
honestly.
and the one score thing too. Like there's Bill jokes about it all the time. There's no homecoming games. We're not the worst. I mean, Carolina is the worst team in the league, right? I mean, I think everybody would sort of agree that they're 32.
I don't know.
Not only they have the worst record in the league, but they stripped a lot of talent away, and what little they didn't, they then sold off at the deadline. Like, so they don't have a lot of talent left. And there's still like 5 one-score losses out of their 12 losses. That just speaks like you don't play Tennessee Chattanooga on Saturday and win 78-0.
Right. Let's go to John at South Beach, who I blew up. Sorry about that, John. Thanks for calling back.
That's Johnny South Beach, by the way. That's his name.
What's up, John?
Howdy, and I just want to point out that Johnny South Beach was nickname given to me. I didn't claim it.
Yeah, no, but it's sticking. It's sticking. They don't call you that, but they should, as Randy Scott says on ESPN.
I'm graciously accepting it. So I'm calling in today with a take that I had in my own mind that I was wrong about. If you're interested in hearing about
okay.
it.
Takes a big man to admit when he's wrong.
Absolutely.
So I saw Jelani Tavai getting a bunch of snaps a lot earlier this year, and I was kind of like, oh man, is this kind of another middling player who's playing in front of younger guys that I'm going to get a little frustrated watching? And I'm not saying he's like, the next coming of Fred Warner or whatever, but I think he's kind of, outperformed my expectations personally. And then I was kind of really sold on him when he called in after the Pittsburgh victory, and I was like, oh, so he's also just appears to be a really great guy too. So
I would strongly agree with the second part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much on the first part. He's a good, solid player.
Yeah.
I don't think he was blocking anybody young, really, though.
No.
Unless you want to say, we need to see Mapu.
Yeah, right.
And you can make an argument for that, but I think Tavai is he's not old. He's sort of one of the younger players, and I think he's been fine.
Yeah, he's really I think one of the. If you want to there's one thing that Bill can still do is identify a player like Tavai who's not a perfect player by any means and say these are the 3 things that you're really good at, and we're only going to ask you to do these 3 things all the time, and he's still able to do that on defense of kind of putting guys into positions to succeed, I suppose is the way to say it. And Tavai, I think, is a perfect example of that. They don't ask him to drop off the line 20 yards into coverage too often. They don't ask him to do things that are really outside of his purview. They really understand the player and put him in a good spot.
That's why I just wonder with this defense in general, if things were to change. And I think about it with a guy like Duggar because it's hard to project Duggar being more productive in another defense when he's here. He plays the position they love. This is kind of how they've built their defense around this guy. It's hard to look at another defense and see somewhere else to come in and change the scheme. How does Tavai fit into a base kind of scheme? How does Duggar as just a pure strong safety? Would that be better for him? Maybe. I don't know. It's hard to kind of parse out.
Thanks, John. Appreciate
and a lot
the
of
call.
teams nowadays don't even play free and strong safety. They just play left and right. And so in that system, he's going to have to play a lot more deep.
Yeah.
Because you're just rotating and you're kind of just staying a little bit.
I mean, he might be more a linebacker than in another
Jamal
squad.
Adams.
Yeah.
Let's see. Matt in Framingham. Simple question. Of all the bad low moments of the season, in your opinion, what was the moment that it registered that this season is going down the drain? When did you know that?
Shut out by the Saints at home.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't have any grand expectations, but I think when I got shut out by the Saints at home, I thought this is going to be worse than we thought it probably could have been. That for me.
I would agree with Mike that was the end. The performance in Dallas
told
me that.
I was going to say Dallas, too.
That any hope was gone for me that day, but it ended. I agree with Mike.
Yeah, especially because
that 1-2.
You can't respond from that performance against this team at home.
Those 2 weeks, right when you're supposed to be kind of hitting, not your stride maybe, but you're starting to figure out who you are a little bit. And that was who they
the
are.
Dallas game, just those injuries. Losing Judon and Gonzalez in the same game. I was like, well, I don't know.
I didn't even think of that.
How do they even get, even besides the fact the scoreboard was a blowout, like, how do we even get out of this?
It was like the way they played, too.
Yeah.
They just played. They just got dominant. That was like one of the teams that you thought was one of the better teams, and you saw the difference. That's why I said to myself, "Whoa, this is going to be bad."
Travis in West Virginia, do any of you have a hard time quantifying which failures are truly Bill Belichick's fault and which are not? I have a hard time with this because I don't think it's black and white. I understand the blame falls on the guy at the top, but sometimes the players do the opposite of what they're taught. As a point of reference, if you go to McDonald's and your fries are cold, who do you blame? Ray Kroc, regional manager, shift supervisor, or dumb fry boy who didn't follow proper protocol?
But I would flip it.
Not even close to the same.
Not even close. And I think for this one, identifying what's Bill's fault, definitely Mac Jones. Like, that's one person that you can say is his fault. Like, of course, like in that McDonald's reference, the chef put the fries into the thing and he cooked them, but like Mac is doing his hard work, so he's putting the fries in the thing, but he's also not executing correctly. So it's like in that same breath, it's like you need to make fresh fries because those fries have been sitting there all morning. You know?
If we're gonna use this analogy, like, to me,
it's
actually
In-N-Out though. In-N-Out's
it's
better.
actually the opposite, right? Is that if you're blaming the fry cook, you're blaming the wrong person. Like with the Patriots, it feels like the reason why the fry cook is failing is because his equipment stinks, right?
Yeah.
And the owner of the McDonald's is cheaping out on the air fryer, and so like the equipment stinks.
He doesn't even know how to cook fries. He was on shakes. He does shakes.
Yeah,
you can't put a shake guy on fries.
Or something like that.
This week he's mopping floors.
If it's always like that,
next week it's the fries.
If it's always like that, I blame the regional supervisor. But if it's just that day, I blame the shift supervisor.
Right, but it is always like that with this team.
But I think also with that analogy, like if you get a complaint of like cold fries once, it's like you wouldn't let the fries be cold for the whole month.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another good point.
I mean, this is a complicated question, and I
love
look,
this analogy though.
I like the premise of the question.
No,
I think is
you're right,
nuanced.
and that's, I want to
agree
stay on that. But I just there's certain specifics that I would love to know, and I say this as look, he's the guy, he's making the decisions, but I'd really love to know the draft process of who how this whole dynamic has worked over the last few years. Who was kind of setting the table with some of the guys that they've selected. I mean, it just. As much as I blame the drafts on Bill, I also am just like, did Bill really want Tyquan Thornton? Because he doesn't seem like a Bill guy in any sense of the word to me, And the Cole Strange, and maybe he was the guy saying, we need a guard, we're taking a guard. I don't care what you say. But the thing that I can't get away from him is just the stupid, bad coached football that has been played. That's the biggest departure for me, which it comes right down to what's on the field and what's been said as his strength. It's a team that has done stupid things for too long and shot themselves in the foot, and that's a bad coach team, and that I think is the biggest indictment of everything.
Well, Mike, if you want fast guys, you got to draft fast guys.
I mean, maybe it was him.
Give you one of those off air.
I just feel like with the drafting, I truly believe that Bill comes in and says, like, this is what I need, what I feel like I need for this football team to succeed. I need a guard. I need an X receiver. I need this. And I think that Macro does have some leeway to then stack the board. Now, who Bill then takes off of his top five, I think is still more of a Bill decision.
I think Cole Strange reeks of a Bill pick to me.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you
first year
on
guard.
Thornton.
Yeah.
And
I agree with you on
It
Thornton.
goes back to like, who was it, the
Logan
Rams
Mankins-ish.
laughing at like how high he was picked? I still stand by they were laughing at how high he was
Oh,
picked.
yeah.
And not just laughing like at something else. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
still
Oh,
think
yeah.
they were
That-
laughing.
I think there was a combination, but
Yeah.
I think they were making fun of themselves too, because I
Yes.
think they liked that player and were planning on taking him
In, like,
in
the
the fourth
fourth
round.
That makes sense.
They
And
didn't
I
have
think
a
they
pick
were
till
kind
now.
of laughing at themselves for
Yeah.
saying,
We're scouting this guy, and he's gone in the first.
We thought we were going to get a guy in the 4th round that just went in the 1st round.
I agree with you, Paul.
Now, I do think there's part of that was I didn't see him as a first rounder, and they were also both of them were also drunk at the time.
Oh, and then they the best part is that they actually tried to walk it back, and they were like, but when you turn on the film, he looks like a first rounder. It's like, yeah, sure.
The other part that I would like to know, and to the guy's question, like how much of this is on Bill, is I'd like to know the origin of the destruction of the relationship between Mac and Bill, because there's no question that when he was in the off season heading into year 2, Bill was saying some nice things about Mac, and quickly by the time we got to training camp and into the season, that was gone.
Yeah.
So was that because Mac was petulant about Matt Patricia and Bill got defensive of his boys, or was that because Bill stopped believing in Mac, didn't like what he saw, and lost faith in Mac? Like, I'd like to know what the origin of that deterioration is.
I think the origin is McDaniels leaving and Mac starting to question everything.
Yeah. But was it Mac's fault, or was it Bill's fault?
Oh, I don't know.
Probably both.
But I just don't think Bill's. It doesn't matter. It's not for you to question. You're a second-year player.
No, true.
Just do what you're being told.
Right, but I'm just wondering whose fault it was that relationship deteriorated.
I also just like
was it because Bill put Patricia in?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's part of it. Yeah.
And I just think that with today's
Bill
athlete, you can't do it that way.
What's that?
With today's athlete, for better or worse, you can't do it that way.
No.
Where you say like you just do what you're told, because to them it's like this is my career, right? Like I'm just explaining their side of it. Like, this is my career. You're like, now Mac Jones was on the track of being like a 10-year starting quarterback in the NFL coming out of the draft, to now maybe catching on as a backup someplace else next year or something like that. So not only does he mess with like his, better, for lack of a better word, legacy in his career, he's also messing with his money, because now he's not going to get paid like a starting quarterback either.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of these guys, whether it's Caleb Williams, like if they draft Caleb Williams and they try to saddle him with a defensive coordinator as his offensive coordinator, it's going to be
probably not going to go well.
It's going to be the same exact thing.
It's just hard for me though, because it's if he really didn't like Mac that much, why didn't he get another option? And they obviously weren't that high on Zappe, and it seems like he had his reservations about Mac, but he still was trying to push the buttons to pull it out of him.
I'm leaving the door open for the possibility that not all of this was Bill's fault.
Yeah.
And that
what about the stuff like going outside to consult with other people?
Like that part of it, I don't think
is
Bill's fault.
Yeah.
I don't. To the email was
no.
But I think if I had my reservations about Mac, I would get him things to help him. Like if I thought Mac Jones wasn't that good, I would have gotten him some help versus getting.
Well, but I'm sure Mac
around
Jones
him.
wasn't the first young quarterback to question things. It's up to Bill to get him back, to salvage that, to get him right. That's part of the job of a head coach.
I think the other thing too, and with this team, you never actually know where the spending thing is coming from.
Right.
Like, is that ownership, or is that Bill wanting to run the team this way?
I think a lot of it is both.
And if you look at it, you can't be a team that drafts poorly and doesn't aggressively spend. You got to do one of the two. Because if you do neither,
here we are.
Then you stink.
And here we are.
And you're 3
right.
This is what happens.
This is what happens.
And you're looking at a draft pick. Let's go to Eldred in North Carolina. What's up, Eldred? Eldred.
Hey, fellas, ladies, how y'all doing?
All right.
Hello.
All right. Paul, I'm going to disagree with you, Paul. I heard you earlier about that line. A couple years ago, I said the same thing. Why are you going to trade Tooney and Mason? That was your core right there on your line. The only thing you had to worry about was a wide receiver and get another quarterback. But once you got rid of those guys, the line fell. That's why Mac Jones is looking like a scared rat.
So which part do you disagree with? I hated the decision to trade Shaq Mason for nothing. I would have kept Shaq Mason.
But see, they kept him, they paid him, but then they traded him. That was threw me off.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And that didn't make no sense at all.
You got to decide. You got to keep some of them. They let all three of them go. I don't agree with that at all. Yeah, I would have kept two of those three, and you're all right.
Yeah.
Then you don't have to take Cole Strange, to Evan's point, and you can fill another need in the first round.
That was a first round
get
pick.
a tackle. but one or two, but get a tackle. But I wouldn't get it in the first round though.
Yeah.
I still would have got Avile, so he was sitting there.
He was not
How's
sitting there.
How's Devin Lloyd doing?
Ovaltine.
Is he playing well?
I've lost track of him at this point.
Devin Lloyd's on Jacksonville, right?
Devin Lloyd's on Jacksonville.
He was having a lot of tackles, but
He's
I'm not sure this year.
Well, Chris Olave went like 10 picks before the Patriots' original pick, but that's besides.
No,
the
he
point.
did.
Yeah, he did.
No, he did, Devin.
He did.
No, he didn't, Devin.
Whoa.
No, he did.
If only there
Eldred,
was.
Chris Olave.
And Avile went to what you call.
Chris, go look it up, buddy.
He
Go
went
look it up. The Saints traded up in the draft to draft him, Eldred. They traded up to like 12 or something like that to draft Chris Olave. I'm just telling you.
He went 11th.
Yeah.
Chris Olave went 11th in the 2022 draft.
Yeah, the Patriots' original pick I think was 23. It was a Trent McDuffie pick, ironically. Like 22, 23.
Now that one,
Watson was there and
Trent McDuffie was on the board.
Now Christian Watson is a fair one. I think we're finding out why nobody wanted George Pickens. Like George Pickens.
Oh, I would take him in a blink.
A really talented player, but my goodness, George Pickens, come back to us. Like
I don't blame him at all.
His,
have a good one.
Thanks, Eldred.
All right, thanks, Eldred.
His effort, like, not that this is Steelers Unfiltered, but like George Pickens' effort is terrible.
Yeah,
horrible.
Yeah, I don't blame him. I'd fight someone.
Oh, wow.
Much like if I was Mahomes, I would have been fighting people on the sideline.
But you blame Trent Brown? Like, it's the same thing. Like, their effort is terrible. Like, no matter what you say, like George Pickens.
I don't think Trent Brown's very good.
But he's a run
so
play. And George
he has no
there.
effort and ability.
Oh, no,
whereas George
good.
Pickens, I think, shows you that if he was engaged, he'd be fine.
No, I think it's the opposite. If Trent Brown was engaged, he'd be great.
Yeah. Except for 6 other teams would disagree with you.
Because he just wouldn't engage. It's not ability for him. Kareem's in Boston. What's up, Kareem?
Hey guys, howdy. How's it going today?
All right.
A couple things. I'm thinking this team needs some blue chip players, but I don't like to call them blue chip. I call them red chips. So if you guys could just let me know a couple red chip players you guys have identified early, and should we build through the line like we didn't do with Mac Jones, or should we kind of get some weapons?
Can I ask you why you call them red chips instead of blue chips?
I'll wait.
Hey, I don't want to get political.
Is that why? Okay.
All
right.
So
blue
chip.
Who are the blue chip players that we identified prior?
Blue chip players and red chip players are two different things. So you can't just name it a red chip player. It doesn't work like that.
Okay.
Blue chip players are like elite guys.
Right.
Red chip players are like above average starters.
Oh, okay. I didn't know
so
that.
There's a hierarchy.
I have
colors.
to be honest. I'd never heard the term red chip player.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a higher. I mean, not like every team. I'm sure uses different terminology. The Patriots use colors. They do.
Okay.
Bill tried to explain it one time. It's a whole thing.
Okay.
What's green?
So
I'll tell you off the air.
What's he really asking?
What he's blue chip players are elite.
No, I know,
guys.
but he said
he's asking
he
who
says
the-
I call blue chip red chip. So is he asking for our?
He's
blue
asking
chip
for
players?
blue chip.
Yeah, he's
players.
asking for Marvin Harrison
just-
Jr. and
okay.
Caleb Williams
Yeah, I'm just
and
telling
Joe
you
Alt
that-
and the usual top 5
So
suspects.
who are some blue chip players we identified that turned out to be blue chip players? Is that what he's asking?
Oh, he's asking in the past?
No, I think he's asking for like in
This year?
This draft?
this off season.
Well, I haven't really got into it that much.
No.
How much time you got?
Our lads ain't here.
We're
yet.
still talking about 2023. Yeah.
He was from Boston. And he's a Red State guy, huh? Dude, they'll kick you out for that.
He's got like a freedom fries.
Let's see. John in South Carolina. So the top 10 ball catchers in Brady's time are by receptions
ball
are
catchers.
Ball catchers.
Tell you about some ball
by
catchers
receptions
later.
are Welker, Edelman, Brown, Gronk, Falk, White, Branch, Moss, Amendola, and Watson. Branch could be misleading. Not sure how much was before Brady. Do you guys think they are all,
none of that was before Brady?
None.
Do you guys think
Maybe
they are
Troy
all
Brown.
super smart players, or was there always a super smart player along with some good talent? Like having a Welker with a Gronk or a Branch with a Watson. Could it not work without both types?
A lot of those guys were super smart
Yeah,
players.
like Gronk was just Gronk.
Yeah.
And he admits it. Like he was like, I never watched film. Brady just told me where to go, and I did it.
And Randy Moss is considered one of the smartest football guys that
Really
Belichick has ever been
high,
around.
high football
High
IQ.
football
Really
IQ.
underrated guy in that respect. Yeah.
How was Matt Castle successful? He never seemed like he was overly bright to me.
Well, he was in the greatest offense in the history of the NFL. So
Right, and was
Slid him in.
kind of marginally successful. I mean, let's call it what it was. He did a good job filling in.
yeah.
All right, so I want to get into this power ranking because
Okay.
I want to hear what people think
Yeah, funny.
in terms of, who are the best teams right at this moment. Now, in the true spirit of power ranking, in my definition of it, it's who's playing the best right now. Who's the best team
San
right
Francisco.
now?
San Francisco.
Well, you didn't even let him tee it up. You
Well, come
just
on.
went
Is there much
jumping in.
debate? Is anybody going to
So you're just going off of who's playing the best this second?
Who's the best
Paul's taking
team
notes.
right now?
No, I think we'll all agree with one. Does anybody have any disagreement with San Francisco?
I think if not one, a close two of the Ravens.
Yep, I would agree with the
I
quote.
wouldn't have
say,
anybody anywhere near the way San Francisco
No,
is
I
playing.
would say Ravens are second, though.
If we're going off of how they're playing right now,
Right now?
like what we think will happen in the playoffs or whatever, I'd say San Francisco.
Yeah,
I would say San Francisco, but if it's just like a snapshot of today,
well,
now I have all kinds of options for two.
Well, you know how I feel about the quarterback in San Francisco. So my whole thing is that when he gets into a game against an MVP caliber quarterback, not a fake MVP caliber
This is going to
quarterback.
be your epitaph.
Shot fired.
You're going to go down swinging with
See,
this,
but I really
you're going to be wrong.
I really respect
Brock
it.
Purdy's
I-
a good quarterback.
but I like strength of conviction.
No, that's fine.
I do.
It's
I make fun of Jim Murray
he's
all
gonna
the time
take
when
this
I
to his grave.
when I go on my shows and I go with Jim Murray is hilarious. Like Jake Browning right now, I'm sure he wants to build a statue of because he's won a couple of games. Somehow, by the way, he's played 4 games and everybody says he's 3-0 as a starter. They ignore the game he lost somehow. I don't know, but. He's a flavor of the month guy, Jim, and it's like he wears it as a badge of honor. He laughs at himself. He makes fun. Evan's the opposite. Like I could see Brock Purdy winning like back-to-back MVPs and him still saying it still has nothing to do with it.
I don't see it.
But see, you don't like Brock Purdy because he hurts the whole idea of scouting because no one had him as a good quarterback.
No.
It ruins his all 22.
Just to let you know, like the 49ers also picked him in the 7th round. So if their scouting department was so
they were
smart,
wrong too.
But
No.
the biggest thing that
What do you mean no?
He literally has everything you could want.
You
on
still
their
have to
offense.
play well with
don't
everything.
Don't even try.
Yeah, Nick Mullins had everything you wanted too.
Right.
It's terrible.
Brock Purdy is a better quarterback. That's not the argument, and you know it. Like in Brock Purdy, my concern with the 49ers is that if they get into a game with an elite quarterback on the other side, is he going to be able to go toe-to-toe? Because they were in that game in the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, and he couldn't make the throws in the end of the game to win the game.
Right.
So if Brock Purdy is truly what you think he is, and he's different than those types of guys, then they'll win the Super Bowl.
okay.
I think
If he's
he has
not,
more
they
experience
will flame
now.
out.
I think he
Okay.
has more experience now. I think it'd be a
So
different
under
situation if
pressure
he got in the.
is what you're saying.
Just-
Of the moment, pressure of the
When
moment.
it comes, I thought Devin McCourty had a great tweet last night about that game last night with the Eagles and the Seahawks, and he said, in the 2 minute when the game is on the line, at the end of the day, it becomes our 11 against your 11. It's man on man, like your guys versus our guys, and you can talk about all the scheme stuff and all the things that you want. When there's 2 minutes to go in a playoff game, and it's Brock Purdy needs a touchdown to win the game, is he going to make the drive happen?
Okay.
And I still have doubts about that.
Okay.
Okay, but we all agree that
we really haven't seen
today
it yet.
in the
And I think he
snapshot
could do
today,
that.
San Francisco is number 1.
Yeah,
I agree.
But also, it's not just on Brock Purdy. Like he has Deebo Samuel and just like really great guys around him. So I think ultimately they could get it done.
I think they
He
could
has more
get it
experience
done.
now than he did obviously when he was thrust into the game
I mean,
last year.
this year they're in a good spot because
Well, he got hurt last year. He
no,
never failed.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying they're in a good spot because some of the elite quarterbacks are either Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are not what they have been in the last couple of years. Joe Burrow is not going to be in the playoffs. Like I don't know if he's good. Maybe
They'll get
Dak.
tested though.
Yeah.
They'll your scenario will.
I hope
unfold.
so.
Ravens
no, it
defense.
will.
Ravens defense, I think, could put. a
No,
good
somebody
fight.
like no one ever just blows doors and all the way through the playoffs and never gets tested. They'll get a test and.
All right, 49ers 1. I say Ravens 2. Who disagrees?
I agree with you.
Yep.
I'm going on the season and I'm going to say Ravens 2. But if you're saying right now today, I'd say Buffalo. But I'll go Ravens 2.
Okay. Now you can make the case for Buffalo, absolutely, because of the way they played the last couple of weeks.
I think you got to
feel-
do it more than a couple of weeks. That's
Yeah, I feel like Buffalo is like recency bias. I feel like they're just.
Well,
you don't
that's
know what you're gonna get.
But that's kind of my point with
You don't know
power
what you're gonna
rankings.
get.
A lot of it is recency bias.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
But I still have to go off the the season. Like I can't put Carolina at like
I know
15 because they won Sunday.
But Buffalo is one of those teams, and we talked about it in the pick show on Thursday, that if they get hot and they're playing like they're capable of playing, they're going to blow a team out like they did against Dallas.
That's the best remaining duo in the AFC. I mean, you don't have, Lamar doesn't have Mark Andrews. Burrow
So are we
is out,
putting Buffalo 3?
I am.
I am not putting them.
I'm not
3,
quite, but I love this whole take by you. I think it's a good.
I still need to see more, but I just look at it as like, they got the Chargers, then they got the Patriots, and then I think at the same time Miami has Dallas and Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
So all Miami would have to do is lose one of those two, and it sets up a winner-take-all for the division. I think they'd both be in the playoffs, but a winner-take-all for the division in that last game in Miami, that'd be great. That's going to be your Sunday night.
So who's 3?
I mean, this is where it gets interesting. I think this is every team after this. I feel like has some kind of flaw or some kind of reason why you would say I don't think they can do it.
You could probably put Cowboys, Eagles.
I would put Dallas.
Who's the team?
I would put Dallas 3.
Yeah.
This is my.
You put Dallas 3.
I put Dallas 3 as well, but I think
Dallas. What do you say?
Dallas. I mean, it's kind of like a 3-way tie. I feel like
I
at
say
this point.
Buffalo. What do you say, Mike?
I'm going to say Dallas.
Okay, so the Cowboys are 3.
Yeah.
I think you look at them in Miami as two teams that play different at home.
Yep.
Yeah, Miami
exactly. Totally. Yep.
If Dallas probably not going to be the number 1 seed now, so they'll probably have to at least play the championship game on the road if they make it that far. And that
loss for the Eagles last night gives them a chance for the division, though, that they kind of didn't have.
So Dallas is 3. Who's 4?
I would say Kansas City.
I'd go Buffalo here. Yeah.
2 Buffalo.
I think that because of all their injuries, the Dolphins probably can't be in this conversation anymore, but I probably would have a healthy Dolphins team.
Well,
we did
not Woods.
We did that on Sunday for the pregame show. Their inactives came out.
Yeah.
It was like
there is no Wood,
like
only
an all-pro team.
And then they blew doors.
Right.
Anyways, I would probably put Miami at 4. I just think that they're a really good team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chance to prove it too. They can get home field.
So tough. My top 6 were San Francisco, Baltimore, Dallas, Kansas City, Miami, Buffalo. You guys have them in different orders. I don't know.
Yeah,
like I can't really do you a thing because I can't just
Miami,
do today. Because Carolina's going to be like 9 if I just do today.
So 2 Miamis, 2 Buffaloes, 1 Kansas City. Okay, we can only vote on Miami and Buffalo right now. Of those 2, who's better?
I'd go Buffalo right now, but it might depend on where the game is played.
Buffalo can win on the road.
They can.
They just haven't.
I would say Buffalo.
That's okay. They're 2-4.
They
on the
did
road.
beat Miami in Buffalo, right?
Right.
I would say Buffalo for now because Miami didn't beat them last year,
Buffalo.
if I remember correctly either.
I'm not writing yours down. I'm writing mine down.
It's going very quick.
We're doing a poll here.
Miami.
We're not doing a poll.
It's a little poll, Paul.
Yeah.
Get back up on your little poll.
So San Francisco, Baltimore, Dallas was the top 3.
Yeah.
And then you guys have Buffalo 4.
Yeah.
That's right.
Just win a game.
Just make sure.
And then who?
I don't have Buffalo 4.
I didn't either.
And then Kansas City.
Kansas City, I think.
Okay,
Kansas City or Miami?
No Eagles?
Kansas City.
I got to go.
I don't have the Eagles anywhere near this. I don't know if you've watched
No.
them lately.
Yeah, all year.
No
Is it Miami or Kansas City?
Are the
I'm gonna go
Lions getting
Kansas
no
City
love?
here.
5,
No.
Kansas City or Miami?
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Kansas City.
Kansas City over Miami. So now
Yeah.
6, you have Miami, Detroit,
Lions.
Philadelphia.
I'm gonna go Philly here. I still think that they got
I respect the talent.
some metal.
I'm going to say Detroit.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'm with Evan. I'd go Philly.
That
Philly.
Detroit defense is kind of stinky. Smells.
Philly.
Okay.
Philly is 6. Yeah, I
Philly,
wouldn't.
Philly.
Philly would be struggling to get in my top 10. Again, he's the one who set the parameters. It's today.
Okay.
Today they've lost 3 in a row.
That's true.
Like if we're going on the
they're
season,
panicking too.
if they go on the season, Philadelphia is absolutely in this mix.
Right.
But
They are
Fred said
full-on
we're not going on
panicking
the
in
season.
But they're teetering a little bit.
We're going on
Not
today.
just teetering. I mean, they didn't actually fire Desai. They just moved him. That's
brought
weird.
Matty
And
P
then
in, right?
now Matty P's calling the defense. Yeah,
Right.
they're panicking.
Okay. So where are we, Paul?
7.
7.
Still have no Miami.
I'm with Miami here.
No Detroit.
I'll
Okay,
go Miami here. Tyreek gets healthy.
I put Detroit ahead of Miami. But
What?
Yeah.
Tamara is shocked by that.
I'd have to admit I really like Detroit's offense.
Detroit,
so just how they
but
built
Detroit
it.
was on a
brick by
losing
brick.
streak too until 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
No, 2 weeks ago, right?
I'm worried about Detroit's defense, and I can't trust Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Like, I just can't do it.
That's the piece, though. I mean, and it's not that different, I feel like, from San Francisco, where they've been stacking draft picks. They've been putting pieces into place. And now, if Goff doesn't work out, that's going to be a desirable location for any quarterback to go to.
Their defense is still...
Okay, so you're putting Miami there.
I put Miami 7, Detroit 8, because you were the only one that said Detroit.
Okay,
and
that's
Tamara
fine.
was aghast.
Okay, so now who do we have? We got
Nobody else.
The Vikings at 7-7.
Ew.
We've got the Buccaneers at 7-7.
Give me
We've got the Rams at 7-7.
I think
not a bad one right there.
Our
the
top 8
Rams.
right there, to me, are the only teams that have a
Just
chance
end
to
it,
win the
because
Super
everybody
Bowl.
else is just.
Yeah, and I would probably argue that you could chop off 2 of them, but I agree with Evan.
Like, I don't think it. Maybe the Rams has one last run with McVay.
I will
and
say
Stafford,
that
but-
if like San Francisco, and I saw someone on Twitter said this today, I agreed with it. San Francisco
gets a divisional
out of
opponent,
all of these teams probably doesn't want to see the Rams. San Francisco's way better than the Rams.
Yeah, but
way better.
they own them,
and they usually own them in the regular season, but they lost to them in the NFC Championship
Right,
game.
it's in their head.
And when they thought they probably had a better team.
Yeah.
And I do think the Rams were very competitive the first time they played. San Francisco put it away late. Yes, Mike, I remember. And
what quarter was that?
I wouldn't want to play the Rams if they
No.
get in.
You never want to play a divisional opponent.
Plus,
early.
I think that there's enough. Cooper Kupp with Stafford.
Puka.
I think they're getting a little bit of a
Puka,
push
Puka.
from TB's guy, Kyron Williams.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think they're coming on a little bit.
Scouts
and again, it's
missed on
funny what
Puka
happens
Nacua
when
also.
your starting quarterback doesn't get hurt, and evidently you really weren't in cap jail. It was all because your starting quarterback got hurt that you went 5-12.
No, Paul, they couldn't possibly spend another $1.
It's amazing how that works.
Somewhat
so
along those
I
lines,
could make an argument for the Rams at 9 if anybody disagrees.
That's fine. I wouldn't put Cleveland in there, but I've been impressed with what Cleveland's done this year with
He's
all
my
their
coach-
quarterback
he's
issues.
my coach of the year,
The way
Kevin
those guys are
Stefanski.
playing for him, it seems like they're a team that is headed in the right direction.
4 different quarterbacks have won games.
Crazy.
4 different starting quarterbacks.
And they got a good vibe about them, you know.
Yeah.
Other than
They're not, and you talk about injuries.
Yeah.
Like the whole offensive line, the running back, the quarterback.
They're still
safety.
figuring out ways
And
to
then I
win
saw,
close games.
And Miles Garrett's playing
So there are
through
there are 2
ridiculous
teams in the
injuries.
NFL that have only lost 1 game on the road.
Who?
One of them is the Ravens. Do you know who the other team is?
No.
The Jaguars.
Yeah, I was going to say,
I'm
the Jaguars are creeping up now. We're at like 9 or 10.
10. We're at 10.
I think you still have Trevor Lawrence. You still have a coach that's done it before.
we'll put Jacksonville
I would
in
If
there.
he can
Jacksonville
stay
up there.
healthy,
I don't. Yeah.
because now he's in concussion protocol.
Yeah. Right. That's
That's the issue with
Yeah,
that.
when quarterbacks are in concussion protocol, it lasts a little shorter.
They
than
just
the-
throw a shield on. They just
TJ
throw like a
the
sunglass
TJ
shield.
Watt shield.
Actually,
C.J. Stroud just sat out the game, and it looks like he might have to set out another one.
Did you see the thing from the locker room that Pop Douglas said that they asked him if he wanted to shut her down, and he said no, he wanted to come back. So,
Yeah.
to your
Yeah,
point,
I would take it out.
You're
Yeah,
concerned.
the decision shouldn't be in the player's hands.
To Paul's
agree
point
more.
about, what have you done lately and take the whole season, what about the Broncos? Do they get any love for turning the season around like they did? And are they
I don't know.
a team to worry about?
I don't. I just feel like when you got Russell Wilson, you're not in the position you need to be turning the season around. You need to be like consistent.
Are we going today again? Like, how about the Bengals?
Yeah.
Right, Jake Browning. Right?
Yeah.
The Bengals, I think, are a good example of like when you have a Super Bowl caliber roster. As long as the quarterback doesn't lose you the game,
Which he certainly tried to last week.
yeah, then you still are going to be competitive because they're stacked everywhere else.
I think that's going to be interesting to see what happens with him without Jamar Chase, because he's going to miss a little bit of time.
Yeah, no,
so
that's going to be a problem.
if he can,
He was fine without him on Saturday in the fourth quarter when they got
Yeah.
21 points. But I just think he's throwing punts all over the field, and T. Higgins is.
That was
Did you
crazy.
see that play?
I did. That was
Like, that's
that
just
was,
don't want
silliness.
that
that
guy
was,
on.
and I
He
and
threw
I've
it
been
right to a Viking.
I've been a little like skeptical of T. Higgins overall, just kind of pushing back on people, but that was a phenomenal play.
And
That
then
was
Too many contested catches, not for me.
my boy Nick Mullins.
yeah,
What 2 horrific
Yeah.
quarterback sneaks in overtime in a row. Oh my God.
Nick. That's why it didn't look right.
So
in
I
San
would
Francisco.
say that like the 8 and 6 teams in the AFC, I think, are all like worthy of discussion.
Yeah, I think
And we
the
have a
Broncos
9
are 7-7, right?
and we have a 9 and 5 Browns team too.
Yeah.
That we haven't put on this
Oh,
list
wow.
yet.
Who's going to be their Browns quarterback?
Joe
I mean, is it
Flacco.
Flacco here on out?
Flacco's going to play the
ride or
rest of
die?
the way
Yeah.
unless he gets hurt.
Yeah.
Then they'll have to go
Which
back to
given how it's gone.
They'll have to go back to DTR.
What does it say about the Bengals that they're 3-6 in the AFC and 5-0 in the against NFC opponents?
I don't think it's
Catch you by surprise.
But is the AFC a better conference right now than the
Deeper.
NFC?
I personally think it's not close.
Yeah. I think it's better.
Now
as
that
well.
said, I think San Francisco is the cream of the crop.
Right.
And I don't
But
really,
there's only one of them.
I really don't think there's anybody close to them in terms of talent.
Yeah. I think we proved that again with Buffalo blowing doors on Dallas. Like that's supposed to be their second best team in the conference, and they can't even hang. So
Second best team against the 11th seed
Yeah.
in the AFC.
yeah,
Boom.
yeah. The AFC is a bloodbath. With Russell Wilson though, I came away from like watching that offense, like watching the last couple weeks, and I kind of think he's not the problem. If there is a problem with that offense, like he's still got some of that Russ Houdini stuff going on. Like he's still getting out of
We
the.
don't have to let Russ cook.
No, he still get Sean Payton's offense is just kind of vanilla. Like they don't really do much
But
there.
They don't run the ball
Getting back
either.
to this,
No.
do you realize that there's only one AFC team that has a losing record against the NFC?
Who
would
was
that
that?
be?
That'd be New England.
Who would that
Oh,
be?
we're 0 against
Yeah,
the NFC.
0-5. No other team. A lot of teams are 500, but no other team has a losing record against the NFC in the AFC.
Who owns the Patriots?
Everybody.
NFC.
Yeah. But
Mike's dying.
Yeah, right?
That hurt his
God,
feelings.
you want me to order?
God saying,
you
shut
need an
up,
ambulance?
dudes. Don't make fun of the Patriots.
That hurt his feelings so much that he's just.
Oh, you know what?
we're
I
still-
lied. One other team has a losing record against the NFC. Do you know who that is?
Jets.
No, the Chiefs.
Oh.
2-3.
Okay.
Out of conference.
Oh, yeah, they lost.
How
that
do you feel?
week.
How do you guys feel about the Chiefs?
I know.
Weird team.
I
It's
think
weird.
they're beatable.
I just,
Definitely beatable.
They're as vulnerable as they've been. I didn't think they were as good last year
Yeah.
as they had been, and certainly they have more flaws this year than they did last year.
I just wonder if this is it's like some of those Patriots teams.
Oh, I really screwed up.
Oh.
The Raiders are 2-3 and the Chargers are 2-3 too.
So,
it's bad info.
But still, they
I
at
didn't
least,
look far enough down
but
the
at
list.
least they have wins against.
Yeah.
The
NFC.
the Chiefs, though, I would say the thing that I would really worry about is I do think their defense is pretty legit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the chances of them falling way behind are small because of that.
Yeah.
And if you
So
give
just
him a
catch the
chance,
ball. Catch the ball,
if
guys.
you give him a chance, there's always that that one
the
time
same way.
that Kadarius Toney actually catches the perfect pass.
Or Rasheed Rice is starting to come on a little bit and be at least
guy.
reliable.
Yeah.
I just think with their defense though, I actually thought that there was I didn't think they covered very well against
especially
the
in
Patriots on
man early
Sunday.
in the game. They said they had to switch off because they were getting beat.
Yeah. So I wonder like how much of their defense is like, if that pass rush is not heating up the quarterback constantly like it was doing on Sunday, I think a good quarterback can have that secondary.
Most of the great defenses.
So I think after
they're not
11,
getting pressure.
I think after 11, the power rankings get very muddled. Who's the worst team in the NFL right now?
The Carolina Panthers.
Really? You don't think
by a significant margin?
You
That's
think,
an awful team.
You think they're worse than the Patriots?
Oh yeah.
Well, like within this moment, or like,
now.
are they in the worst position of like future promise? Because they are a team sitting on the first overall draft pick from last year. I know Bryce Young hasn't been good, but I mean, this is a different. This is a different. This is a different
who
question.
would you rather be?
Yeah.
I'd still rather be the Patriots. They don't even have a first round pick.
And
Carolina.
another thing that I saw, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, if I didn't get all this. I'm sure you guys saw a lot of it made the rounds on Twitter on Sunday. How few people were actually in the stands at the Carolina game.
You could count how many people.
Evidently, the weather that we got yesterday was that was the weather.
Yeah.
No one said that on Twitter. I didn't know that. I didn't know there was brutally. The game was 9-7. Like there was no offense in the game. It was a monsoon.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Doesn't that add a little context to why there's nobody there?
It does, and it makes sense too. I know people were posting the screenshots saying, "Oh, tickets are 47 cents or 45 cents, whatever it was." It's like, yeah, because they had a whole monsoon happening outside.
And there's I mean that to
Which
me is a
added
little
to it.
different than
Bryce
just
Young
saying
in the monsoon.
because
I can tell you that.
someone had said there was 5,000 people there.
Yeah, it was
literally.
bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever seen that in an NFL game. But I didn't realize that weather at least played a factor. I mean,
It's
let's
tough,
face
though,
it,
'cause it's like
if
if-
they were 11-1 instead of 1-11, I'm sure there would have been
Right.
more people.
Right,
there.
and plus, when you're a
Or
crappy
1
team,
12.
like people aren't coming out. We get it. Like it's just there's this constant need to like, oh my gosh, they're terrible. Look how bad it is.
Could
like,
you
well,
imagine if we
wants to sit in
played
the rain?
yesterday like we were supposed to?
Yeah. Yeah.
That would have been kind of fun.
But
Absolutely
But
not.
by the time the game came about last
okay,
night,
yeah.
Hi, I'm Tamara Brown. My hair.
She's in Oz.
It would have been Buffalo
It's a twister.
times 2 with
I didn't
one
even think of
pass
that.
thrown in the game.
I just thought of all the
Literally.
jabs that they were taking on the Monday Night Football broadcast last night. Oh, we weren't even supposed to be here. We got flexed
Oh
in
my
like
God.
at least like 4 or
come
5
on.
times.
but I do like the notion that like as the week went on last week, and you remember this, Mike, as you know,
Yeah. The weather.
CTE.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like did ESPN make a mistake?
A mistake?
Absolutely.
Like they really ruined the day. They took the 3-10 Patriots out of prime time, and then of course you get a blowout in the Patriots game, and maybe not the greatest game ever last night, but a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Drew
Lock.
Upset.
I'm sure they were really upset that they made that choice.
Dan's in New Jersey. What's up, Dan?
So you guys
Adjust the
had
power rankings.
the Browns and the Lions in your top 10 both, right?
No.
no.
The Lions are at 8, and I would say Cleveland's at 12.
Yeah. But I guess I was just going to point out, it was about 14 months ago that we handily beat both those teams, and I think it was back-to-back.
Yeah.
And Bailey
Much
was
different
quarterbacks.
teams.
It's just ironic.
Things change.
Much different teams.
But
Yep.
I mean, I guess there's always a chance we could be top 10 next year. But anyway,
Okay.
that's not why I called in. I just wanted to digress and not talk about the game so much. But I was at the Gillette on Sunday, first time ever. I never made it. I was a fan from '74, but I never made it to Gillette. I went to the old stadium a couple of times, and it was great. I mean, my wife and I went to the Hall of Fame and the Lighthouse. We had dinner at Patriots Place, and so anyway, the whole experience was great. There was really nothing to remind me of the old stadium except, on game day, going there, trying to find parking, and that's when the past sort of catches up to me. I don't mind parking my car in a dirt field or mingling with the hoi polloi or waiting for the Stadies, to wave us past Route 1 or whatever. And I really don't even mind, waiting an hour and a half to get out of the parking lot. But what I can't abide after a loss, I need my Hardy, I need Paul, I need Mike. But oh my God, there's no signal on that side of Route 1.
Oh.
I can't get the post-game show.
Oh, that stinks.
Thing that they could fix.
Who's
And
your
that makes
carrier?
the whole parking situation a little better.
Who's your carrier?
What's our carrier? Verizon. Verizon.
Well, that's weird because
I
Verizon
love
literally
Verizon.
put in
Yeah.
5G in the parking lot.
Yeah, they got a sign right
Oh,
there. in the
really?
parking
Yeah,
lot.
I didn't
so
know that.
that's not good. All right, thanks, Dan. I appreciate the call. I'm glad that you had a good experience.
Chris
here.
Ferrer's on it.
Yeah. No, it's nothing to do with Chris. Andrew in L.A. says, love you, mean it, Paul. But
Yeah,
please look at the
Paul.
roster in 2020 for the 49ers. Samuel played in 7 games. Kittle played in 8 games. Best receiver was a rookie, Ayuk. You could put Mac Jones on that roster today, and they'd have basically the same record. CMC or Lamar for MVP.
Yeah,
How are you?
Paul,
How are you disagreeing with me?
because you like Brock Purdy.
Yeah, you think?
No, I'll just to state my point on Brock Purdy. I just think that I've seen enough off-platform plays from him that I don't think Garoppolo would have made. That's all I'm saying. I think they had a really good team in 2020.
They look good
I didn't
here.
say. Did I say that they stunk?
No.
When Garoppolo
No,
played.
and I don't think Brock Purdy stinks. He's just not my MVP.
Yeah.
That's all.
And
he's
by,
not
and
even
by the
close
way,
to my MVP.
and by the way, he's not top 10 MVP on that team.
Yeah, that's why he's not my MVP.
Oh, he's
Like
not.
I would not even think about calling him the MVP of the league.
He's
I
gonna
just
win
think
MVP
he's
of the
better.
league.
I just think he's better than you do.
That's
all.
annoying. Tyreek Hill should win it.
He's going to win MVP of the league.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's Lamar. He should be the MVP.
He's
It's
been really
it's
good.
just funny how you can have totally different things. Like to me, it's Tyreek Hill, and it's not
Same.
even close.
Yeah.
And I would have your boy McCaffrey too.
Yeah.
If I was really gun to my head thinking
This
about
does
it.
feel like a year that if there's ever going to be a year
Non-quarterback?
that's not a quarterback, this is probably it.
But don't you think, like, again, we're going to get into this. It's 153, and we're going to get into this big argument about what an MVP should be. But I mean, Patrick Mahomes should be in the conversation, don't you think?
No.
I mean, without him.
No.
I mean, I
They've
get
overcome
what
a lot
you're,
of
I get what you're
mistakes.
saying. I mean, I don't think it's been good enough.
It
Like,
might
to get
be
them,
his best
but,
year.
Yeah,
To
but
your
you're
point.
right. That's
Right.
I mean, that's my MVP, bro. It's the guy. If you took them out of this team, it would fall apart. And I think
That's why I have Lamar
And I
Jackson.
mean, I guess Miami's winless weekend was kind of proof against what Paul and I believe at Tyreek Hill. But I still think that's the model for me. Is the guy who just means the most to his team.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is the best player in the league. Whether or not he's had the best season to be the MVP, I don't know, but he's the best player in the league, and nothing that he did on Sunday.
No.
And I know a lot of people will, because I hate doing the whole, well, when that guy played, like suddenly like Joe Burrow's a game manager because Jake Browning went 3-1 as a starter. Like, no, like there's a big difference in the offense. But like Tyreek Hill didn't play on Sunday, and the Dolphins.
You can see the difference.
No, you didn't actually. They won 30-0.
Oh, okay. So then
blew,
he's not the MVP.
They blew doors. I don't think that's how you do it.
Yeah.
Fred's
Like I
so
think you
funny.
watch and you see just how important this guy is to the team, and I think if you played the whole year without him, you'd see a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
Me too.
Absolutely.
I mean, but that's why I think Jackson should be MVP, because if you took him out, what would they do?
No, I don't think you're
they
far
do have
off.
a great
Fred.
defense,
Yeah.
but I
especially
agree.
without Andrews now. I mean, that's puts more on
I,
him. And
I love
3 or 5.
Lamar, and Fred knows that, but I just don't think they've been all that impressive offensively.
Yeah, he doesn't really have the stats of an MVP.
He doesn't. But
Yeah.
the possession, the time of possession, he controls the ball. He
He's
makes it so
he's
hard
great.
for a defense.
I love him. You have to sell me on him.
Yeah, he's going to finish, I think, top 3 or 5. I think Purdy's going to win because he.
Oh, no way.
I think he is.
I don't think Purdy's
Who's going to be
win it.
coach of the year, by the way?
I would go with Stefanski.
I think he's a good candidate for it. Yeah, what's his name in Indy also coached well.
Shane
he's
Steichen.
done-
Yeah.
What about D'Amico Ryans?
He should get. He'll win it.
Consideration. I mean,
He'll win it.
but he's fallen. They've fallen off a little bit.
Yeah,
but
they have.
But he'll
It's a
be
big
in
win
consideration.
with a backup quarterback the other day.
Yeah.
Patriots wouldn't have 3 wins without Bill Belichick.
You're funny.
All right.
Probably have 6.
Look at the Jets.
Ooh. That's going to be it for this edition of Patriots Unfiltered. We'll be back tomorrow with another edition.
I'll have the picks ready because I'm not going to be on Thursday's show.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Holiday fill-in time, Freddie.
All right. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you for downloading this podcast. Subscribe on Apple, Google Play, and everywhere else you listen. Like the show? Please rate and review us. Listener comments and ratings help keep us high in the podcast rankings so new listeners can find us. Be sure to check patriots.com for more news and more podcasts.
The world's original podcast.